Outside, the wind howled, and a few leaves drifted past the window. On the bed lay Anchorus, neatly dressed and fast asleep, oblivious to the raging storm outside. Thoughts of her stagnant life surfaced in her mind. There was no joy in her life. When had it all gone wrong? Perhaps it had always been this way. She remembered her birth, the wails of a newborn, wah 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 wah, echoing in the nurse's arms. Anchorus thought back. I still remember the moment I was born. A cacophony of sounds surrounded me, but only one sentence rang clear. The man standing before the crib bellowed, "It shouldn't be a girl. It should have been a boy." Immediately after the baby's cries, wah 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 wah, the woman on the bed breathed her last. That day was also the day my mother died. As if waiting in the wings, my father immediately brought his mistress and her daughter into the mansion. That mistress was none other than my mother's younger sister. In other words, my father took his deceased wife's sister as his second wife. From then on, everything unfolded like a pre-written play. The Balias family has a tradition of alternating the heir by gender, and coincidentally, the 36th generation head was to be female. The candidates for the position were only two, myself and my half-sister. But my father devised a perfect plan to rob me of my opportunity and make my half-sister the heir. That was to raise me as a son. Thanks to that tear-soaked paternal affection, my half-sister naturally became the heir to the family. Powerless as I was, I had no one to turn to for help. I could only try my best not to be abandoned. A desperate and pathetic attempt, but all my efforts were in vain. Watching my efforts torn to shreds before my eyes, I was devastated. Meanwhile, the person beside me sneered. I realized that all I received in return was ridicule and despair. My existence was always superfluous. It took me a while to accept that truth, and it took even longer for me to learn to let go of everything. Just like that, I became a hollow person, drowning in hopelessness. Just then, a letter appeared on my desk. A man's voice boomed, "Here's your recommendation letter." Anchorus took the letter and examined it. He continued, "You can at least do this much, right?" Reading the contents, she seemed to ignore his words. It was a posting abroad. He snapped, "You understand what I mean, right? Leave this house quietly." Anchorus didn't argue, turning to open the safe and leaving before his eyes. Then she walked out of the room, slamming the door shut with a click. Anchorus fell into deep thought. So, I'm finally being kicked out of this house. A surge of anger made her chest tighten. Damn it, she cursed under her breath. At that moment, she immediately thought of her stepmother, the woman who had shattered her small family. Seeing her stepmother rushing towards her, Anchorus asked, "What is it?" Suddenly, her stepmother reached out and ripped a necklace from Anchorus's neck. Anchorus gritted her teeth and screamed, "What are you doing?" She helplessly pleaded, "Give it back. Return it here." But it seemed her stepmother didn't even glance at her. Looking at the necklace she had just snatched, the stepmother laughed mockingly. "You're still clinging to your mother's worn-out relic." "What?" she shrieked. "It's an eyesore." Then she threw it into the nearby fireplace. The fire inside flared up as if welcoming it. Humph, humph, humph. Anchorus stared in horror, her face flushed from the intense heat. Watching the necklace burn in the fireplace, occasionally crackling and popping, Anchorus felt a pang of pain. That day, my heart was also incinerated, just like my mother's keepsake burning brightly in the hearth. Stripped of everything like that, even the reason for existence was gone. So in my anger, I stole my stepmother's ring. It was an invaluable, indestructible ring, passed down through generations of my mother's and stepmother's Bayana family. I took only the ring, with that petty intention of revenge, and left the house. The sun began to set. The voice of a staff member rang out. "Hello, guest." Anchorus placed a bag of money on the counter. "This is a 2-month deposit." Anchorus glanced around and stated, "While I'm here, absolutely no one is allowed in my room." Then she entered the rented room, casually tossing her backpack onto the floor with a thud. Immediately, she flung the stolen ring onto the floor without hesitation. Seeing it, anger surged again. Anchorus gritted her teeth. "Why am I in this situation? What did I go wrong?" The more she thought, the angrier she became, and she stomped on the ring without a second thought. Pain throbbed in Anchorus's head. "Why do I have to leave like an outcast and hide away in this rural inn? I've lived my whole life as an outcast. Even though they criticized and humiliated me, I still clung on just to avoid being abandoned." The more she thought about it, the harder she stomped on the ring. Thump, thump, yet all that's left. By now, the ring was trampled and shattered. Looking at it, Anchorus thought, is this just a useless ring? Exhausted, she bent over, panting. Her hair fell forward and her eyes stung. She quickly raised a hand to cover them, that a life filled with nothing but emptiness, loneliness, and trouble. I am exhausted. By now, sweat drenched her face, but Anchoress didn't care. Her gaze remained fixed on the ring as she questioned, "This ring is indestructible." A thought flashed through her mind. I've decided to end my life. A pilled bottle clattered on the floor. The sound of heavenly trumpets echoed from somewhere. After preparing everything, she put on the scorched necklace and lay down on the bed, praying that her life would end there. Anchoress felt disoriented. Clearly, I took sleeping pills last night, and she looked at everything before her as if trying to frighten herself. What is this? A movie? Or a memory before death? Suddenly, a light flashed in front of her. Anchoress jumped. Whoa, that startled me. Her eyes shifted, and she saw a little girl sitting on the table. Anchoress was bewildered that a little girl with pink hair. The little girl was yawning, practically closing her eyes and falling asleep. Suddenly, she raised a finger and spun it around. Instantly, books opened with a flapping sound. Flip, flip. Looking at the scene before her, Anchoress couldn't help but gasping wow, seeing the little girl's small stature. Anchoress guessed she's about 6 years old, right? Below, the students were busily copying something. Anchoress recounted. When the little girl started to explain, the children around her focused intently on taking notes. Are they students? Suddenly, Halicious felt a chill down her spine. She turned around and stared intensely, her gaze burning. Anchoress, feeling the weight of Helisat's gaze, didn't dare make a sound, holding her breath as the moments stretched on. Halicious's body trembled. Helisat jumped up and down, shouting, "Surely, you don't want to lose me, right?" The students below, upon hearing this, all slumped their heads onto their desks, murmuring and complaining amongst themselves. Now's not the time to be standing around like this, Miss Halicious. They scrambled. Where are you going, Miss Halicious? Suddenly, Halicious ran a considerable distance away from Anchoress, leaving her utterly bewildered. Anchoress recounted, "At first, I thought it was just a video, but did I just make eye contact with her? The screen went black. Did I S it over? Or is it?" Just then, a flash of light appeared. Anchoress gasped, "Wait, that's the uniform of the Chiba Royal Guard." Phazon's armor shimmered before her eyes. Anchoress whispered, "My homeland." Anchoress observed the two of them. Judging by the insignia, the other person seemed to be a commander. It reminded her of the nightly exam she had recently failed. They were talking to each other. Lord Phazon has arrived. Anchoress thought carefully. But wait, how long will these strange videos continue? If it follows the previous pattern, after making eye contact with me, Phazon will turn to look at her. Anchoress has started to feel tense. The sound of footsteps echoed. Thump, thump. Suddenly, Phazon slammed something on the table, a piece of paper beneath his hand. A pen scratched across the paper. Then, Phazon abruptly tossed the paper aside, flipped his hair, and walked away with a haughty air. The paper fluttered to the ground, and at the same time, Phazon's back gradually faded away. Anchoress noticed the contents of the letter. 3 words were clearly visible. Letter of resignation. Fear washed over her, making her body tremble. Anchoress thought nervously. So the story ends when the main character on the screen leaves? Anchoress recalled, first it was a child. Next, a handsome young man. The third video followed the same pattern. She looked closely at the person who appeared. Anchoress was bewildered that that really an old man? His face doesn't have any wrinkles. His name was Spalin Ilangorgian, head of the Gorgian Trading Company, one of the largest trading companies in the Kingdom of Rabum. The thing hanging behind him, isn't that the White Knight's staff, a treasure among treasures? A memory surfaced in Anchoress's mind that I read about it in a book when I was little. Its value is equivalent to a nation's annual budget. Such a treasure, hanging there like a mere decoration. He's definitely not an ordinary person. The main character of the fourth video was a beautiful woman with platinum blonde hair that flowed like ocean waves. The subordinates around her called her Sang Rodahara. Even more surprising, she was the head of the Jew Grinner Assassins Guild. Although I only learned this through the video, her room is located on the highest floor of the Chrome Tower of Knowledge. Anchoress was startled. She hadn't expected the Tower of Knowledge to be the headquarters of the Jew Grinner Assassins Guild. A shiver ran down her spine, remembering the chilling gaze she'd felt in the final moments. And finally, there was a suspicious man in a black cloak performing some kind of Fly King summoning ritual with an equally suspicious group. The old man's voice echoed, "Oh, Fly King, why do you not appear?" A whisper came from beside him. Did Lord Julius's summoning fail? No. Julius turned around. It was a success. Suddenly, Anchoress felt something was off. She wondered, wait, why is he looking this way and saying it was a success? A warning sound rang out that we should go. Were they trying to summon this time? At that moment, a thought flashed through her mind. Am I a fly? You've got to be kidding me. Immediately, the screen flashed again. Anchoress woke up with a start, her head spinning. Am I still alive? Realizing her suicide attempt had failed, Anchoress clutched her head at her bed, questioning everything. Damn it, another long, exhausting dream. She pondered, am I immune to the drugs? Or was the dosage not enough? A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Knock, knock. Anchoress wearily opened the door and complained. I clearly stated that I wasn't to be disturbed during the period I paid for. This is such a hassle after just one day. The person outside replied, it's been a week, ma'am. The words hit Anchoress like a bolt of lightning, rendering her speechless. When she regained her composure, she yelled, making the person beside her break out in a cold sweat. A week. The attendant trembled, stammering, why yes, ma'am. Anchoress came back to her senses. She touched herself, feeling her weakened state. Sleeping for so long explains why I have no energy left. She murmured, so that's it, but why? Seeing her mood, the attendant forced a nervous laugh. Ha ha ha. About that. Perhaps you should come downstairs for a moment. Anchoress went downstairs and saw a group of people she had seen in her strange dream the previous night. They all turned around at the same time. Oh, you're here? Seeing their faces, Anchoress froze. Why are the people from my dream appearing before me? Disheveled and bewildered, she approached them for a closer look. Seeing Anchoress's disheveled appearance, Halicia's eyes widened, and she muttered, why is an old man and not a child? Sang Rodahara leaned on the table, smiling. So, is our little darling a boy or a girl? Faison announced loudly, adding to the amusement, I've already submitted my resignation, so I can relax here now. Then Spalin, stroking his beard, spoke up, hey, you're living in a pretty shabby place. Julius asked curiously, did you really respond to my summons? They bombarded her with questions, leaving Anchoress breathless and feeling like a limp noodle. She whispered, hey, I'm exhausted. Can you ask one at a time? Anchoress thought to herself, although it's hard to believe, I've been forced into immortality by the people I saw in my dream. She sat like a puppy, listening intently to everyone talk. She thought, according to these people, they're not human, but belong to a special race called Bina. We're a higher race with power comparable to gods, but we're bound by a limitation, lifespan. To break that limit, we need a witness's oath, and our witness is you, Halicia's whispered conspiratorially. Basically, if you don't take the oath, we'll only live for 300 years and then kick the bucket. And even if you do take the oath, if you die, we die too. Anchoress thought to herself, the witness they're talking about is me, the one who broke the stone. She spoke softly, so what exactly is this oath? I don't understand anything. Seeing her clueless expression, Julius crossed her arms and leaned in, looking at her sideways. Are you dense? Seriously? At this point, Anchoress remembered the fly incident and clenched her fists in anger. Then why don't you explain it to me, so I won't be dense? Anchoress choked back her frustration. Put it simply, in front of someone like me, who wants to die, suddenly appears a group of people desperately wanting me to keep living. For me, 300 years is a long, endless nightmare, but it seems like it's not for you. Anchoress asked quietly, so it's because I destroyed the ring that you're all like this, right? Hearing this, Sang Rodahara burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. Oh my, sweetie, do you really want to die? Halicia's, trembling with irritation, snapped. Are you trying to push this mess onto us? Spalin, standing beside them, spoke up. The ring isn't important. What's important is who destroyed it. Not just anyone who destroys it can become the witness. It has to be someone who can open the sealed door, using the ring as an intermediary key. Spalin tapped his finger lightly on the table. His voice resonated. When the sealed door is opened, the Bina with the matching frequency will react according to that rule. Anchoress asked, puzzled, frequency. Spalin looked thoughtfully towards the sky, as if reminiscing, we saw your image the moment we sensed the key being broken. He added, that's proof that you share the same frequency as us, but we were very surprised. Because there are 5 of us connected, it's not normal at all. You could say you, and we have a significant connection. Anchoress thought back on what he said, feeling a bit bewildered. It's because I destroyed the ring that you came looking for me. Spalin nodded, that's right. Seeing that Anchoress was finally engaging with this once unbelievable story, he said cheerfully, now, you can speak freely. But, conversely, this seemed to put invisible pressure on Anchoress, making her flustered. Her expression darkened, and she let out a strained before falling silent. From within the room, Anchoress's weak voice emerged. Just let me sleep the sleep of ages, and take me somewhere safe, okay? As soon as she finished speaking, Halicious, in a fit of anger, threw a teddy bear at her face, knocking Anchoress to the ground. What the hell are you talking about? Because of the unexpected impact and her already weakened state, Anchoress began to stagger and fall. The others started to panic, looking at Halicious. How can a child be so strong? Anchoress closed her eyes slowly, murmuring, definitely not human. Then she collapsed with a thud. Time passed, and Anchoress woke up, slowly opening her eyes. Just waking up, her body still weak, Anchoress lay motionless, observing the room. Deja vu, she thought. At this moment, she didn't notice Halicious dozing beside the bed. A moment later, Halicious woke up, rubbed her eyes, and turned to Anchoress, softly asking, Oh, you're awake? Seeing Halicious's appearance, Anchoress almost fainted. Again, Halicious hurriedly explained, I'm so sorry. I didn't expect you to faint after that kick. I got chewed out by the others because of it. Please don't be mad at me. Halicious took a closer look at Anchoress's face and body, a flicker of confusion crossing her features. She muttered, You're weaker than I thought. Anchoress thought angrily, It's not that I'm weak. Never mind. Seeing Anchoress hadn't spoken since waking up, Halicious became a little worried. She put on a cute expression and swayed playfully, trying to coax Anchoress. Can you answer my question? Charmed by Halicious's endearing behavior, Anchoress softened slightly and said, Try asking. In the already cold room, Halicious's words sounded even colder. Why did you want to die? Anchoress asked, You're curious about that? Halicious nodded slightly beside her. Yeah, extremely curious. Anchoress hesitated, her hands fidgeting as she nervously ran her fingers through her hair. I never thought I'd be asked this question. Even I don't really know. How can I put it into words? The feeling was both chaotic and ancient, as if it were about to shatter from being so worn down. I simply lost my reason to continue living. Can anyone understand this feeling? Thinking this, Anchoress offered an excuse, because living isn't interesting. Halicious looked surprised, really? Halicious swung her legs gently, murmuring, Well then, she then declared with enthusiasm, I'll make it interesting. Anchoress was bewildered, Halicious explained, Listen, we're not ordinary people. We can do things you haven't even thought of and make anything you wish for a reality. I'll show you how interesting life can be. She added excitedly, Just trust us this once. It'll be good for both you and us, because we won't have to die anymore. I haven't even built my own harem yet, so how can I die? Then, Halicious skipped out of the room, singing La 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 La, leaving Anchoress alone. Anchoress spoke softly. Is it that easy for you? Halicious's footsteps faltered. She sighed. Not at all. That's why we came here, for a chance to live longer. Halicious held her plump hands out in front of her. And life is meaningless. Her voice resonated with philosophical weight. One day, you'll definitely feel lucky to be alive. It won't be easy, but I'll make it happen. Then Halicious turned and smiled. She didn't forget to mention the others close to her. Everyone thinks so, not just me. We weren't very close before, but meeting here and sharing this, everyone wants to live longer, so everyone's trying their best for you. Suddenly, a touch of shyness colored her cheeks as she closed her eyes and giggled. It's a little disappointing you're not a cute little girl or boy, Halicious admitted, but I'm a generous person, so I'll let it slide. I managed to convince Halicious to reaffirm it. So, please trust us this once. Anchoress pondered. Do you want me to keep living? Halicious admitted, Well, life is interesting, especially that Julius guy. He's not normal at all. Let's create some happy days together. Halicious gently approached the bedside and took Anchoress's pale hands. She pressed them to her cheek, tears welling in her eyes as she choked out, So please don't die. Anchoress was gradually moved by Halicious. Suddenly, a clattering sound came from outside. Anchoress asked, What's that sound? The eavesdroppers outside were startled and their faces paled. Seeing their touching moment interrupted, Halicious flew into a rage, kicking the door open and unleashing a torrent of angry words. You crazy bunch of meddlers. I was about to hear her answer. It's all your fault. Faison, feeling incredibly guilty and embarrassed, explained, I was just worried and a little curious. Spalin, pacing anxiously outside, occasionally let out a nervous cough. Sang Rodahara sat in a daze, muttering, I can't believe I couldn't tell their gender. Unbelievable. So, is the cutie a boy or a girl? But the one suffering the most was Julius. He sat facing the corner, weeping. Why would she think I'm not normal? Anchoress, sitting on the bed, observed everyone's varied reactions with a touch of concern. She thought to herself, am I on the same wavelength as these people? But she made an excuse. They don't seem compatible. Anchoress looked at each person, some crying, some indifferent, and fell into deep thought. For someone who just wanted to die, this was all a bit much. After a good cry, Julius finally calmed down. He began to ask anxiously, so, when are you going to take the oath? Pressed by everyone's questions, Anchoress fidgeted, her hands clasped tightly together. Can you wait a little longer? A while ago, Anchoress had been warned. From the moment of the oath, she would be separated from the flow of time, and the god of death of the underworld, Mahara, would turn their back on her. Anchoress was bewildered. Turn their back on me? What does that mean? You will become immortal, and so will those whose lives are tied to you, like us. We won't age and will live forever. Hearing this, Anchoress broke out in a cold sweat, her eyes losing focus. For someone seeking the end of their life, the word immortal was a heavy blow. Despite everyone's focus on her, Anchoress sat with her head bowed, despondent. Why would I suddenly become immortal? Sensing Anchoress's discomfort, Phazon tactfully spoke up. Come on, barging in here and pressuring her like this isn't right. Let's give her some time to decide. Anchoress tilted her head, listening to Phazon's advice. So, don't feel pressured. Just relax. But Sang Rodahara, standing beside them, disagreed. She exclaimed, what if she suddenly dies? Will you take responsibility? Phazon, unable to offer a guarantee, murmured, no, but we should at least give her enough time to accept her life. Anchoress remained silent amidst their bickering. Glancing at Phazon, she thought with a flicker of interest, his name is Phazon, right? He seems like a decent person. Probably the most normal one out of this bunch. Hey, the atmosphere in the room was getting tense. Everyone convinced they were right, trying to stall. Suddenly, Anchoress broke the silence. I have a question. Julius looked at the person sitting on the bed. Anchoress softly asked, just because I became your oath taker, does that mean an ordinary person like me can become immortal? Julius stammered, that's because we're demigods. As soon as he finished his sentence, the two froze, staring at each other, the atmosphere turning gloomy. An image of the supreme gods appeared in Anchoress's mind. Your gods? Like this? Why don't you have halos behind you? Julius retorted, why should we? Are you delusional? Rebuffed by Julius, Anchoress's face fell. She lamented, this is so confusing. My poor imagination can't accept this reality. She murmured so, Julie. Halicious, standing nearby, heard Anchoress call Julius Julie and reacted strongly. Hey, why does only he get a nickname? Worried about being nitpicked, Anchoress conceded, well, you told me to speak comfortably, so I'll call everyone by nicknames. Tell me what nicknames you want to be called. Anchoress reminded everyone, and from now on, I'll be blunt. Everyone, taking in her suggestion, started to think busily. Nicknames, good idea. What should I be called? This is tough. Anchoress waited silently for everyone's replies. Suddenly, she spoke, making Spallin jump. Except for you, Spallin. Halicious asked what? Anchoress frankly replied, looking at your appearance, it's hard for me to call you by a nickname. Her words hit him like a hammer. Wham! Being seen as the old guy with two colored silver hair made Spallin tear up. Just call me Jin and talk comfortably with me. This old man is very sensitive. Seeing his demeanor, Anchoress relented and nodded. I'll call you that. The beautiful Sang Rodahara spoke up. Next is me. Call me Xiangi. The cute Halicious giggled. Call me Heli. On the other hand, Phazon seemed a little disappointed. He pondered for a long time and then sighed. That's a good idea, but I've never been called by a nickname before. This is tough. What should it be? Anchoress replied. Then I'll call you Faye. Hearing a nickname somewhat similar to his own, Julius whined. I'm not that easy. Anchoress asked, confused. What do you mean? Julius declared, you didn't even ask me what nickname I wanted. It's not fair. Anchoress sighed and said, that's the nickname I specially picked for you. A voice rang out. So, now it's my turn to introduce myself, right? Footsteps echoed clip-clop. Anchoress introduced herself. I'm Anchoress in Boyana. Just call me in for short. Anchoress added, I don't know what the future holds, but I hope you all will help me. Finishing her sentence, she bowed 90 degrees in front of everyone. They responded with a chorus of approval. Strained from a long conversation, Anchoress whispered, can I sleep a little more now? Silence returned to the room. Anchoress dozed off on the bed, waiting for her to fall asleep. Someone outside pushed open the double doors and entered the room. It was Sang Rodahara. She closed the doors behind her. The witness of the oath, if she just accepts her fate as a witness. Look, he'll have to live a lingering life as punishment. He's my witness, after all. I can't leave it like this. I have to think of something, no matter what. Her eyes welled up with tears as she whispered to Rodahara, I'm sorry, sweetie, but maybe you'll be happy soon. Her gaze paused out. Oh, it's a small pouch. There's a necklace inside. Rotahara's curiosity was piqued. This ends pouch. As she was opening the letter inside, Faison pushed the door open. What are you doing? Faison frowned, slightly annoyed that everyone's discussing the next plan. Come downstairs. But Rotahara didn't want to leave yet. She murmured, hold on, let me look at this. Faison repeated, come downstairs, please. A moment later, Spalin sat beside Halicious. He heard a noise and quickly turned around. Anne, you're down? We're discussing how to make Anne's life more interesting. Halicious, with a straw in her mouth, grumbled, sneaking into the room of someone who's sleeping is just creepy. Rotahara crossed her arms defensively, muttering, what about you? Are you planning some stupid games according to your creep's preferences? Provoked by Rotahara, Halicious flew into a rage, the liquid in her mouth spraying out. What? Stupid. Spalin quickly intervened. Now calm down. Julius lay motionless on the chair, ignoring their commotion. A voice rang out, so were everyone's thoughts. Earlier, Julius suggested going on a trip. I think it's not a bad idea. That guy's suddenly acting like a normal person. Spalin couldn't help but start boasting. We'll build a luxury resort to find inner peace. Of course, there needs to be a resort next door, too. Halicious, standing beside him, rolled her eyes. This old man crazy? How long are you planning to build that? Your whole life, Spalin calmly declared. With my enormous fortune, nothing is. Impossible, Rotahara suggested. First, we need to investigate, and Halicious was startled. What? Investigate what? She protested. I object. We need to hear it directly from him. Rotahara smirked. Don't you know? If he was the type to talk about himself, he wouldn't have silently tried to run away like that. Halicious quieted down, seeing the logic in Rotahara's words. That's true, but you'll tell us too, right? Rotahara put on a mysterious air. Let's see what your attitudes are like first. Halicious fumed. Keeping information to yourself is mean. We have the right to know, too. Suddenly, she remembered something and exclaimed, oh, that reminds me. I found a document in Anne's pouch earlier. The next day, Rotahara held a piece of paper in front of Anchorus, questioning him with surprise. What's this? And you've been appointed to office number 2 of the Cheba Embassy in Besis? An appointment letter? Rotahara wondered, isn't this a government job with a huge salary? Looking at the contents of the paper made her break out in a sweat, her mouth stammering. No. Anchorus started to panic, trying to explain. A huge salary? It's true that working at the embassy leads to quick promotions. But office number 2, if I were to borrow the words of my superiors, that place is full of discarded pawns. Despite Anchorus's flustered state behind him, Spalin burst out laughing. This is perfect. I was just wondering about our destination. Julius suggested, let's go pack our bags. Seeing everyone frantically packing their things made Anchorus panic and yell, wait a minute, are you all planning to go there right now? Everyone turned around and said in unison, of course. Anchorus screamed internally, oh my God. Watching everyone turn their backs, Anchorus reached out a hand, pleading, no, this isn't right at all. Can I just sleep forever? Seeing everyone remain silent, she cried out in frustration, I'll swear an oath. Just let me sleep for eternity and put me somewhere safe. Or just throw me into the void. I don't care. Anchorus collapsed onto the cold floor, wailing hopelessly. Just let me sleep forever. The sound of carriage wheels bumping along the road echoed. Clip-clop, clip-clop. Inside the carriage, they were on their way to the hotel. Bobby was nibbling on Anchorus's head. Oh, magnificent. Spalin stroked his beard and said, just average ho-ho. A voice announced, I found a house near Anne's workplace. It's being renovated now. Waiting a bit won't hurt. It might be finished by the time we arrive. Anchorus was bewildered. The house is almost finished already. She felt like she was floating, unable to connect with the present world. Anchorus wondered. Even though I followed along in my confusion, I couldn't have foreseen this. A throbbing sensation hit her head. Only then did she feel the pressure from Bobby, who was still gnawing on her head. Anchorus screamed internally. What is this now? Bobby muttered, sniff, sniff, smells so good. Hearing its whisper startled her. IT talked. Anchorus exclaimed, hey Julius, what is this thing? Julius replied, like you, it's kind of like my summoned being. Its name is Bobby. Anchorus recoiled, pointing a trembling finger at it. It's really named Bobby? You still see me as a summoned being. Julius explained, it's of the Cyver Cygnus Fian race. It's so strong it can crush any monster 10 times its size. It's known for its high self-esteem and belligerence. Looking at Bobby's fluffy appearance, Julius remarked. This one's pretty tame. Watching Bobby's antics, Anchoress blurted out, Tame? It looks more like it a bit dim-witted. Bobby retorted, I'm not. I'm quite intelligent, you know. Faison, standing beside them, whispered, Actually, it's a species of catbird. It even has hidden wings. Anchoress gasped, Then it must have a bird-sized brain. Note, only for the foolish and stupid. Faison, understanding the implication, burst out laughing. Ah, that's right. A bird-sized brain. Ha! Julius scolded angrily. Hey, Bobby will be hurt by that. Time passed. Halicious' voice woke Anchoriz.an. And wake up, time to eat. Awakened by her voice, Anchoress blinked her eyes open, rubbing them with both hands. Eat? Halicious clung to Anchoress's leg, whining, We're at the hotel. Let's have dinner here and get some sleep. Come on, get up. Stepping out of the carriage, Anchoress was overwhelmed by the opulence of the hotel. She stammered, Here, the Taverna Hotel? The Taverna Hotel is a high-class hotel that even nobles have to book a month in advance to stay at. By now, everyone was already at the banquet table. Sang Rodahara called out cheerfully, Darling, over here. There you are. The hotel was luxuriously decorated, sparkling, and shining. A voice echoed. The room has been meticulously prepared. It has a large bathroom, a small bar, and even a training room, so we shouldn't have any problems here until tomorrow. Meanwhile, Sang Rodahara observed the staff around her, glancing at their table with evident displeasure. She muttered, The room is fine, but the guests here are so inconsiderate, constantly staring. It's so annoying. Mr. Spallin remarked, If you're not satisfied, just deal with them, as usual. Are you trying to act demure in front of a witness? Sang Rodahara retorted, What? I'm always demure, unlike you. She continued her sarcastic jab. Honestly, how shameless. A lone shark like you has the nerve to say that. Anchoress, oblivious to their bickering, calmly chewed her food. Delicious. She fell in a deep thought. Meal times, they always feel like I'm sitting on pins and needles. The argument between the old man and the young woman escalated. Mr. Spallin slammed his hand on the table and stood up, asserting his dominance that I'm a businessman, not a loan shark. Sang Rodahara argued back, Businessman? Don't play innocent. Anchoress sighed, A comfortable and delicious meal will be nice. Suddenly, a gaze focused on Anchoress. Faison softly inquired, Is the food not to your liking? Startled by his voice, Anchoress blushed, stammering, Oh, well, I'm a light eater. Anchoress abruptly stood up and left the table, muttering, Please excuse me for a moment. Watching Anchoress leave because of Faison's words, Mr. Spallin grumbled, Ahem. He always has to say something pointless to ruin the atmosphere. Faison, unnerved by Mr. Spallin's glare, thought his eyes say it all. Moments later, the sound of rushing water. Honestly, Anchoress stood before the mirror, wiping water droplets from her face. Looking at her reflection, she thought, It's just a meal. Why am I so anxious? I should just go back. After washing her face, she was about to leave when a staff member called out, Excuse me. Annoyed by the interruption, Anchoress turned back. Anchoress asked, Is something the matter? Miles hesitated. Earlier, the people you were with, I saw a woman with platinum blonde hair enter with you. Is she your lover? She kept calling out, Darling. Ugh. Anchoress looked confused. You mean Sion? Then she quickly corrected herself. We're not lovers. But I'm sorry. I can't answer personal questions. Miles seemed hesitant after her refusal, if that's the case. Just then, someone approached and spoke up, Miles. It was Diana, with her lovely appearance. Diana looked surprised to see Anchoress, a stranger. That outfit looks. Before she could finish, her older sister interrupted, Diana, how many times have I told you? Her sister embraced Diana, causing her to groan in frustration. Ugh. Her sister laughed awkwardly. This isn't a place where you can just casually talk to strangers. Diana's sister quickly apologized. I'm so sorry. My little sister is still young and doesn't understand these things. Anchoress softly replied, Oh no, it's all right. Being apologized to made Anchoress feel a little shy, but we're fine. Please don't worry. Just then, Faison appeared and witnessed the awkward situation. He spoke up, and is something wrong? I was worried because you didn't come back, so I came looking for you. Faison approached her and whispered, If there's nothing else, let's go. Anchoress nodded and followed him. Suddenly, a shout rang out, Hold on. Miles said in surprise. Could it be that you're Commander Faison Van Uclear of the Royal Guard? Miles quickly bowed at a 90-degree angle. I am Miles Jean Fahai of the Two Temples Night Order. Faison, hearing the title, felt no flicker of recognition. Fahai, he said, I don't remember you. Miles replied, "Last year, I visited Cheba as a member of the envoy, as a pursuer of the martial arts. How could I easily forget the one who holds the title of king? Zoma desti Jianguang." The title Trang Quang, formed from Trang, meaning prosperity, and Quang, meaning king, is a designation, not an official title. Everyone standing behind them was eavesdropping. Good heavens. In the realm of martial arts, there are various ranks. There's a miracle that rejuvenates and restores the body, called Qian Shu. Above Qian Shu is Quan Shu, and when one reaches the realm of king, they're practically a demigod. Seeing Faison here made Miles curious. Oh, why are you here? Cheba will be holding the Grand Martial Arts Tournament soon, won't it? Suddenly, the resignation letter flashed in his mind. Miles muttered in surprise. It seems he resigned. A voice called from afar, and seeing this, Faison quickly urged, "You go ahead. I have something to attend to." Anchoress looked like a lost puppy. She nodded slightly. She hurriedly said, "Then I'll excuse myself." Moments latte, forward steps, Akua. Anchoress, whose power was unbelievably legendary, had only just managed to shed the label of trainee. Someone who reached the king realm was said to possess power comparable to a god, and Faison wielded such terrifying power. But the Bena's clan were also considered demigods, so it was only natural, no matter how you looked at it. From their first encounter, she knew they weren't ordinary people, but the Bailia's family was even more astonishing than she'd imagined. Anchoress recalled Faison's tense expression from earlier and pondered, but why was he so flustered? She gently pushed open the creaking door. A sudden voice startled her. "Anchoress, it's been a while." Footsteps approached, clip-clop. The voice reached her ears. It has been a while, hasn't it? You're here." A noblewoman wearing a hat was approaching. "Anchoress." Her words made Anchoress freeze. Before her stood a familiar noblewoman, Lady Boyana. A story unfolded. When my mother was 3, my grandmother died in a sudden fire at the mansion. My grandfather was devastated by her death. They say he lived like a lost soul during that time. While grieving, a disgusting incident occurred. He spent a drunken night with a maid. And that maid is the woman before me, Lady Boyana, my mother's stepmother. She frowned at Anchoress, who stood frozen. "Answer me. What are you doing here?" She continued, relaying information she'd just heard, and "I've been informed that you've been appointed to the Bisager embassy." Anchoress softly replied, "I stayed a day with friends I met on the way." "The friend you traveled with?" Lady Boyana asked coldly. "The Duchess, perhaps." This made Anchoress even more flustered. She clenched her fist, gritting her teeth as she replied, "No. The Duchess and her brother, they're at the Summer Palace, aren't they?" Lady Boyana covered her mouth, chuckling. That's right. The Duchess really enjoys it there. Besides," she smirked, "I have something to tell you." She walked off, then left a message. "Meet me in the orchard. This might be our last meeting, so come." Anchoress silently watched Lady Boyana leave. "That IT must be the medicine," she muttered to herself. She knew everything Lady Boyana had done to her. Lady Boyana had done anything to make her niece the heir of the Bailia's clan. One of those things was keeping my gender a secret, and she's been giving me medicine to suppress any bodily changes. Someone else wanted the Bailia's clan away from me, so she and my mother's stepsister staged a fake suicide. The memories flashed through Anchoress's mind. My mother's stepsister stood before my grandfather, threatening to jump if he opposed her marriage to my father. In that situation, my grandfather allowed them to marry. Feeling guilty towards my deceased mother, he eventually cut ties with the Bailia's clan. With that, my family became estranged from the Bailia's clan. Lady Boyana, who had taken over the clan, used it to completely exclude me from the Bailia's family. She forced me to keep the Boyana name. The more Anchoress recalled these painful memories, the more exhausted she became. Leaning against the wall, lost in thought, she wondered, "Isn't it enough to put your mind at ease? You're still regularly giving me the medicine." After a long while, she returned to her room. Halicious and Bobby were waiting for her. They both exclaimed joyfully, "Ah, there you are. Look, it's a game." Bobby also yelled, "Hey, I thought I was going to die of boredom." Halicious, holding a game cartridge, ran over excitedly. "Let's play together. It's a 2-player game." Anchoress hid her sadness and softly declined. "You go ahead. I need to take a shower." Halicious turned excitedly to Bobby. "Bobby, let's play." The spirit beast readily agreed, "Yeah." The sounds of the game, along with Bobby and Halicious's excited chatter, filled the room. Spectrum, ballet, samba. Choose a challenge. You've selected a suitable mode. An old man sat in a chair, watching the children play. Point 3, 2, start. Ready. Bobby and Halicious both stepped onto the floor. Bobby began wagging his tail, and Halicia's behind him started to follow the rhythm. Both enjoyed the music. Spalanloa? Ah. Are you trying to surprise this old man with this? Throughout, the two friends danced skillfully, and Jin, like a true spectator, continuously clapped and laughed with delight. Ha 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 ha. Inside the bathroom, Anchoress, surprised, glanced over as the music and laughter drifted in. Jang Ji glanced over, annoyed. Anyway, that's... Are you coming out? She emerged with dripping wet hair. Like this? Jang Ji's annoyance vanished at the sight of her. He slowly took a towel. You should dry your hair properly. Faison cheerfully told her, I made some flower tea while you were bathing, so please enjoy it. Anchoress, blushing, shyly thanked him. Thank you, she said. That's wonderful. She took the cup of flower tea and blew gently on it to cool it down, feeling a sense of peace. The music was still playing. By the way, Faison, Jangji, she called to the two of them. Do you know where the orchard is? The campus was dark and quiet. Lady Boyana appeared under the lamplight, frowning at Anchoress, who stood frozen in front of her. You're early. What if I hadn't come? Anchoress couldn't tell if the woman's expression was one of disdain. Lady Boyana slowly opened her handbag. A distinct click echoed in the quiet night. This is the last one, she said, holding out a vial of the mysterious potion Anchoress had taken so many times. This is the last time. Anchoress took the vial. Give it to me. Lady Boyana reminded her, if it's discovered you're a woman. Anchoress immediately thought, it will hinder her niece's claim. Lady Boyana was pleased to see Anchoress obediently tilt her head back and drink the entire vial. She smiled a sinister smile, seeing her plan unfold perfectly. The empty vial was tossed to the ground. You won't have to drink this anymore, she declared. You've completely left the family. Indeed, it felt that way. As soon as the words left Lady Boyana's lips, Anchoress doubled over in pain. Ugh. She's acting like a devil, she thought. I've achieved my goal. Now you can't even have children. What will you do? The words hit Anchoress like a thunderbolt. What was that? The woman in front of her let out a series of chilling laughs. Farewell. Lady Boyana left Anchoress crumpled on the ground. It's so hot. Anchoress writhed in agony from the strange potion. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Her esophagus felt like it was burning. This had never happened before with this potion. Why? A stranger in a black cloak appeared on the steps. What are you doing there? Anchoress turned, startled, a red liquid dripping from her mouth. He rushed towards her. Hey, wait. She stumbled and fell, but he managed to catch her. Hey, don't worry. Though her vision was blurry, Anchoress recognized Julius. She mumbled, I won't die. I won't. Just a little. Slam. A door slammed shut. I'm sorry. A child's desperate cries and pleas echoed. Someone, please open the door. Tears streamed down the little girl's face as she clung to the door. Please. I'm really scared. Please, please. She even knelt down, begging desperately. Someone, please let me out of here. But there was no one, only a dark expanse of memory. Anchoress jolted awake from the nightmare. Julius was gripping her shoulders, shouting, please, wake up. She burst into tears. It was so scary. Julius comforted her as if soothing the child from that memory. There. It's all right. It's all right. He pulled her into a hug, gently patting her back and murmuring, you did well. Anchoress leaned against Julius's arm, gasping for breath, her tears and sweat soaking his sleeve. Spalin raged at his servants. How could a perfectly healthy child be on the verge of death? All those close to Anchoress gathered around her bed as Jin interrogated his steward and servants. Which bastard did this? Which bastard did this to my companion? Huh. Tabina, the hotel manager, quietly replied after the scolding. That's the Countess, head of the family. Jin, furious, roared, how could you let this happen? How have you been doing your job? The panicked manager trembled, pleading, I apologize, sir. Helly beside them sobbed, I checked her. Poison. Her words were broken by her crying. Jang Ji, fuming, placed her hands on her hips and snapped, stop crying and tell me what's going on. Helly continued to tremble, her words punctuated by sobs. Tears and snot streamed down her face. She wailed, her body, it's full of poison. Everyone froze, staring at the beat. S.O. It wasn't just something she ate. Someone murmured, the poison has been accumulating. That's why it's only showing now. Julius knelt at the bedside, hands clasped together. He muttered, I don't know how she's even still alive. Are you satisfied now? Boo-hoo. Helly cried out to Jang Ji after explaining the situation. Anchoress tried to sit up, and Julius rushed to help her. Good heavens, this poison should have killed her instantly, he said, carefully supporting her. He sighed in relief, but thankfully, she's alive. Why did you refuse to tell me about this when I told you to? I said your whole body would get worse if your mind wasn't in a good state. Julius gently scolded. See what's happened now. Anchoress continued to sob. Julius, his face pale with worry, embraced her and tried to comfort her. Stroking her hair, he whispered, "Faye blessed you," and Helly and Spalin helped with the treatment. Jang Ji found the sedative and brought it here. He added softly, "It will hurt a little while the poison is being drawn out." The incense in the burner began to fill the room with its fragrance. So, close your eyes. I don't doubt it at all. About the poison, the one I always had to drink in front of my father, stepmother, and stepsister. Anchoress mumbled deliriously. They knew about the nature of this poison, didn't they? Jang Ji, frustrated, exclaimed, "Ugh, this is so infuriating. I can't help but be angry." She angrily ran her hands through her hair. This is such a ridiculously stupid obligation. Jen, exasperated, snapped at her to be quiet. What if you wake her up? This is how it has to be, so shut your mouth. Faye glanced over and spoke to Jang Ji. What Jen said is true. Frail humans can't control us with their strength. He explained further, so we have a blind sympathy for the contractor, whether we want to or not. We have to make the contractor transform. That's why so many want to be near the contractor or try desperately to separate from them. A thought struck Julius. He gently patted Bobby's head and asked, "Jang Ji, have you learned anything about this girl yet?" Jang Ji replied, frustrated, still working on it. "I'm investigating An's family." Early morning arrived, and birdsong filled the air. The sunlight brightened the room. Anchoress stirred awake after a long sleep. Bobby curled up beside her. I'm back in my room." She sat up, careful not to disturb the spirit beast. Bobby, she remembered that moment, the pain until she lost consciousness. Anchoress touched her throat, sighing softly. The pain was gone now. That evening, something seemed to have happened in this room, and looked around, observing and recalling the scene before she left the room that day. The music was strange. Helly and Bobby had been dancing and acting very oddly. Spalin's laughter echoed along with the rhythm, and Jiang Zi's hands gently dried her hair. For her, the room was filled with the fragrance of flower tea brewed by Faye. She smiled, touching Bobby's soft, warm fur. Everyone used to think her existence was bothersome, a tedious life, and even if she were to die someday, she would have no regrets. But now, and was reluctant to leave so soon. Because there were people who needed her, she had to live so they could live. She softly asked the drowsy Bobby beside her, "Can I really live my life?" Hearing that, she teared up, hugging Bobby tightly. She looked forward with determination. It was obvious she wanted to live. "And you're awake?" Jiang Zi's sweet voice echoed through the room. "How are you feeling now?" She nodded and replied, "I'm fine now. I feel like my body is even lighter than before. Thank you so much. But what are you doing?" Helly hid under a pristine white blanket. The blanket was immediately pulled away. Helly panicked. My blanket." Her eyes were swollen, and her face was flushed with embarrassment. Helly trembled before him. She finally couldn't help but laugh. Her laughter grew louder. "Ha ha, Helly. You look like a carp. You look even cuter now." She reached out and gently rubbed Helly's cheek. "But it's okay because you're still very cute." Helly stood beside her, tearing up, "You're such a dummy." Helly darted out of the room, tears streaming down her face, and looked after her apologetically. "I made her cry." And something, Jiang Zi perceptibly noticed the difference, has changed. The scene outside the hotel was strangely peaceful. So, Anchoress and her friend sat down in the room to discuss. "You want to become our ally, right?" And nodded immediately. "Wonderful." That sudden in, Jiang Zi smiled in surprise, but then added, "Of course not now, but after I return." "Return? You're going to?" Jiang Zi panicked, worried about her. Spalin rushed forward, angrily demanding, "Are you going to see that woman?" So they knew. Anchoress felt awkward, but what had to come would come. "I'm sorry, but it's true." And Spalin gritted his teeth. Anger flared within him that we're arguing to resolve this. "You don't need to do it yourself for us, regardless of Bayana or whatever. I can completely turn that tiny family into beggars." And tried to calm his anger. "Come on, that's my family. Even if they take revenge and punish someone in that family for me, I won't be happy at all." She sighed and instructed them, Jiang Zi, Helly Zin, Fei, Julie, all the same. "If I can't handle this, I'll ask for your help." Everyone glumly agreed that if I get revenge through someone else, it'll only make me angry. Even if I could only suffer alone, I would still feel happy. "Come on," Mr. Zen muttered. "Does it even work?" He frowned, looking at the ancient, tea-stained contraption. Helly explained with a furrowed brow, "This is a very expensive film projector." He watched her tinker with it all day, engrossed in the device, impatiently propping his chin in his hands. Helly continued to boast about about its capabilities, it has a master filmmaker and photographer inside. Inwardly, she was incredibly annoyed. Just wait and see. Are you afraid people won't know you're a loan shark? Stop rushing me. Mr. Zen didn't understand. A master what? He only noticed that her eyes were swollen and looked just like a frog's. Helly whirled around, fuming. You greedy bastard. The two began to bicker. I could hold a meteorite between my eyebrows, she retorted, her voice rising. Have you seen my sealing technique? Open your eyes and look before you speak, okay? Faye and Julie simultaneously had the same thought. Here we go again. Both covered their ears and pulled their hoods tight around their faces to muffle the noise. Seeing the machine, Julie exclaimed, it's working. Immediately, the two squabblers stopped their tug of war. Everyone immediately crowded around the screen, which displayed Anchoris's resolute face. She was at the Bailia's estate. Sitting opposite her was Lady Boyana. Surprised to see me like this, aren't you? Inside the room, adorned with all sorts of luxurious jewelry, and announced, I'm here because I have something to tell you. Go on, Lady Boyana said, her eyes narrowed, and gritted her teeth slightly. Finally, she had a chance to ask, why did you do it? What are you talking about? Lady Boyana scoffed derisively, and had anticipated this. She was still putting on the same act, having lived under her gaze for many years, and knew her like the back of her hand. That I can tell when you're acting. You always looked at me with such malice, disgust, hatred, and unfounded jealousy. Julie flipped through the papers in his hand. He pointed to an item on a page and asked Jiangzi, the generational transfer seems a bit late, doesn't it? No air, she exclaimed. Oh, that's... The table was covered with information and images related to their investigation. Right? She flipped through them. There was an accident. At the Bayana family's inheritance ceremony, the head of the family's wife died from poisoning. Back in the tension-filled room, and faced a demon in human form that Bezra? That's the name of the poison used at the inheritance ceremony. But Lady Boyana didn't seem interested. She waved her hand dismissively, feigning boredom. Why bring that up now? Find somewhere else to talk about this. I've been looking for that poison, the shop that sold it. They said it was made at someone's request. Lady Boyana flinched, her eyes widening in visible fear. She stammered, her hand trembling. How is that possible? It's information I happened to gather. To verify it, I had to spend a long time in dark. Alice. She also disguised herself to visit chemical shops, gathering pieces of evidence from everywhere. After analyzing the information, I concluded that it was true, thanks to my hobbies and skills, which are usually considered trivial. This was her way of explaining her linguistic abilities. I quickly uncovered the secret information. She couldn't keep calm, continuously questioning you knew, but why only now? And calmly stood up and coldly told her, the moment I speak, we'll both fall into the mud, or you'll kill me. You think I can't kill you right now? Lady Boyana threatened. So, are you going to kill me? Anchoris coldly pushed her into a corner. I won't stop you. The more Anchoris provoked her, the more Lady Boyana trembled in fear. Anchoris threatened her, but the moment my heart stops beating, the carrier pigeon will transform into an image and immediately send it to my uncle. And smiled wickedly, looking at the trembling woman before her. If so, what will my uncle do to you? If he sees you forcing sleeping pills on me, then setting the room on fire, what will happen? She maintained her smile, murmuring for Lady Boyana to hear. Lady Boyana froze, staring at her, and my grandmother died the exact same way. How did you... Lady Boyana stammered, unable to finish her sentence, trembling uncontrollably. Anchoris watched with amusement as the powerful woman now cowered in fear before her. Recording this scene was definitely the right move. With that little bit of information, you think you could do anything to me? Anchoris tightened her grip on Lady Boyana's hand. I don't want anything, just to live a little longer. So don't do anything stupid. She calmly released Lady Boyana's hand. Just ignore me like the other young ladies of Bailius, because I can drag you down into the mud with me. Lady Boyana staggered and collapsed to the ground, her whole body trembling. It would be so good if you disappeared from my sight. I wish you didn't exist in this world. Lady Boyana seethed with rage. You hate me because I resemble my grandmother, and glanced back with a look of disdain. Because this is the face of the person you could never defeat in your entire life. My grandmother was the legal wife, while you, Lady Boyana, were just the concubine. Lady Boyana couldn't say anything, only clutching the hem of her skirt. Later, the relationship between my mother and my stepmother played out exactly the same way. I don't want to repeat the past, and left the room, lost in thought. Now I just want to live a happy life like this. Ahem. Tabina suddenly appeared, coughing to attract her attention, and startled, looked up. Hotel manager. His eyes were wide with curiosity. But is the carrier pigeon story real? Anchoress frowned, annoyed. Had he been eavesdropping? Noticing her displeasure, Tabina hurriedly explained, I'm sorry. I was just thinking about unexpected situations. Mr. Spallane is our hotel's largest shareholder. He pleaded with her, please keep this a secret from Mr. Spallane. Tabina's face paled as he mentioned Spallane. If he knows I was eavesdropping, I'm dead for sure, and was taken aback by his fear. Calm down. Don't act like you're about to cry. She glanced at his increasingly distraught expression and muttered, just how badly has he been exploiting you? No, the manager said, even more frightened that I almost cried. Anchoress, unusually, decided to tell Tabina the truth about the carrier pigeon story. He leaned in, eager to hear. Elite. It was like a bolt of lightning had struck him. His eyes went wide. Wait, what did you say? He stood frozen for a moment before regaining his composure, and calmly replied, I devised the plan, but I haven't implemented it yet. It's a bit expensive. Of course. She didn't reveal the real reason behind it. Actually, I had intended to die, but I couldn't go through with it. She recalled that moment, but there's no need to mention it, is there? Anyway, to that extent, Mr. Tabina is still restoring the rest of his soul back to his body. I suppose he's in the same boat as us, right? She smiled at him. Before leaving our final destination, the Tabina Hotel, I have a promise to fulfill. Mr. Spallane showed me the necessary incantation for the oath. Anchoress frowned at the ancient language on the paper. She had to trace each word to be able to follow along. She muttered, this language is really new. Mr. Jen smiled brightly, helpfully standing beside her to guide her, because it's a new language. Can I ask what it means? Julie immediately chimed in. I think it's better if you don't know. He cried out in pain. My arms and legs are cramping. Anchoress sprayed him with a cooling spray. He's always like this, isn't he? Right after the oath ceremony began, a giant magic circle appeared on the ground. Its starting, Zhang Ji, Heli, and Fei all focused on reciting the oath of the demigods. Next, Mr. Spallane and Julie did the same. Then came the prayer. Starting with Zhang Ji, everyone stood around the circle, placing their hands on their left chests. The melody of the prayer resonated. The Bina clan will place their hands over their hearts. Finally, it was her turn. Anchoress nervously followed suit. After taking the oath in that strange new language, her soul would be bound to the Bina clan and say goodbye to her past life, and smiled at her friends. A completely new life would begin. Magic continuously burst forth, surrounding Anchoress. The oath echoed. She stared in wonder at the shimmering lights around her. The oath had been sealed. The room was filled with light and sparkling rays. Flew up. Anchoress froze, looking around blankly. What's wrong with me? She muttered. I hear a voice in the air. Faye, seeing her frozen, nudged her and called out, Are you okay? And, standing opposite her, nodded slightly in response. You must be tired. Come here and lie down for a bit. She nodded in agreement and followed. Thanks, you've worked hard. Julie stood frozen like a statue, as if pondering something strange. Meanwhile, Anchoress was being fussed over like a baby, with people getting her pillows and pulling up blankets. Julie looked over. The light of that oath. Was it golden from the beginning? He was very perceptive, recognizing it instantly. But he immediately dismissed the thought. Well, it's not a big deal. Golden. Anchoress had noticed Julie's expression since earlier, but she was drifting off to sleep, her eyes becoming dreamy. What is it? A few days later, at the Winham Chinya headquarters, room number 2. Attention, everyone. A person introduced her to her colleagues. From today, this person will be a member of our investigation unit too. And today is Anchoress's first day working here, and looked different in her new white uniform. She will be responsible for managing our documents and information. The field team can finally relax. There are already 3 veteran staff in the room. Ileana, Miho, and the tall, well-built Sunday great. Now we can leave work on time. Welcome, Younes. Step aside so she can get to know the rest of the staff. I suppose I don't need to introduce myself again. I did that earlier, right? Okay, now introduce yourself. Anchoress, nervous, stammered. It's a pleasure to meet you all. She bowed her head politely. This is my first job, so there will be many shortcomings. I hope to receive everyone's support. The person standing next to me is my superior, the captain of this place, the esteemed, careless Hughes, known to be an eccentric person. The tall young man, Sun, widened his eyes and laughed loudly. Haha, I'm not the youngest one here anymore. So young. Miho mused. I prefer someone the same age as Commander Anchor. Miho, Ileana gently reminded him. Don't voice those preferences in the workplace. Miho chuckled awkwardly. Oh, come on, just a little thought in my head. It's fine. Ileana sighed, exasperatedly reminding him. Don't you realize how creepy that sounds? And stared at the two of them, stunned. Why does this seem different from what I imagined? Sun looked at him shyly and then nudged the other two. Hey, stop arguing. We're welcoming a new member. She remembered those noisy people. Looking at them was like looking at the 5 people in my own family. Miho, lost in his imagination, drooled a little as he continued to think. Such a beautiful and talented person of middle age. He gazed thoughtfully at her, especially her. She reminds me of Helly. Calm down. The captain stepped in to mediate. I'll introduce everyone to you. This guy's name is Sushilin Konkinos, but just call him Sun for short. The tall young man jumped out, speaking cheerfully. Finally, some of my age. This is awesome. From now on, I'll be relying on you. Sun happily extended his hand, wanting to shake. En's hand. She was a little stunned, letting him pat her hand. I'm the same age as you, also a knight rank. I'm in charge of the field team. Sun, overjoyed, his eyes sparkling, pleaded with Anchoress. Can we be best friends? She closed her eyes, ignoring him. This is Miho. The captain continued the introductions, moving on to the second member. Age, species, gender unknown. Basically, an unidentified creature. That's what Captain UNS said. She sighed in annoyance. Even though you are my type, how dare you call me a creature? He gave an apologetic, fake laugh to smooth things over. This lady is a seeker, currently the #1 in the rescue department and handles Wynnum's critical incidents. Also quite skilled. A quiet figure appeared right behind them. Captain UNS yelped. When did you get there? Ileana calmly replied. I'm just here for the introductions. The last person, she presented her own introduction. I'm Ileana Mabanum, a 4th level mage, and recalled what Helly had taught her. In Helly's magic class, the higher the level, the stronger the magic, and had to acknowledge her skill. There are a total of 9 magic levels, so reaching level 4 is considered master level. She's so talented for someone my age, and muttered doubtfully, but why is someone so skilled only in room number 2? Ileana even stepped closer and advised, I'm good at healing and water magic. If you get hurt, come find me anytime. Anchoress took her hand and nodded in thanks. Yes, I look forward to your guidance, Ileana. I'm so lucky. At least I have someone to talk to. Speaking of Ileana, the captain excitedly interjected, she's the leader of cleaning in our department. Captain UNS was cleaning. Anchoress thought about the wet floor signs. The captain, still excitedly boasting, added that if there was any mess, she'd just wash it away with water. She showed Anchoress a familiar sight. Humans were also considered trash. She'd wash them away too. Anchoress, stunned, thought, she can even clean that away? Another thing to keep in mind, be careful with your words and actions around Ileana. Otherwise, the consequences will be unpredictable. Anchoress was overwhelmed by this unique introduction to the team. No one seemed normal. Should I just kick down the door and leave? She responded to the captain dejectedly. I'm not sure I could do a good job, but I understand for now. Anchoress looked longingly at the door. Spalin told me I could live comfortably without doing anything. Should I go back and ask if that promise is still valid? I have a feeling a lot of things are going to happen. She sighed deeply, wanting to go home. Just as she was thinking, our adventure starts from here. Mino suddenly asked, hey, where's the most handsome, crazy guy in our embassy? Ileana replied indifferently. He's probably arguing with the photographer. It's just a damn picture. While Anchoress was still looking around in a daze, the photographer said, there's another one here. She thought in surprise, a photo. The photographer encouraged her with a cheerful smile. You'll get used to the people your age around. Here, Anchoress, with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity, quickly asked, didn't you just say I was the only male colleague around this age? Sukalin, smiling brightly, replied, that's right. She immediately corrected him, I mean age. He chuckled and continued, we're different because our races are different. Have you ever heard of a romantic protagonist? Anchoress lowered her head slightly, sweating as she wondered, is there such a person? Well, anything can happen in this world. Sukalin quickly explained, a romantic protagonist means always the male lead in romance novels. Seeing him rambling again while talking to her, she scowled, goosebumps rising, and asked, are you messing with me? He gulped and smiled, looking at her for a moment. Then he burst out laughing. Look at your expression. It's like a cold wind just blew past. I was just complimenting you. Why are you so hot-tempered? Anchoress coldly replied, I've been telling you I'm hot-tempered for days now. Pointing at her, Sukulin winked and said with a grin, "All right, from now on, you'll be the city boy." Then he suddenly dropped to his knees, dramatically explaining, city boy, different from the male lead. He always plays a very important supporting role, even though he's cold. He loves the female lead so madly that he cries with all his heart, seeing that he could only speak normally to her for a few sentences before inevitably rambling again. Anchoress curiously asked if he was always like this. Ileana chuckled and explained, he's obsessed with romance novels. If he likes a particular scene, he gets like this. Mino immediately added, yeah, he's really passionate about that hobby. It's a bit strange, but he's actually a very hard worker. How long does it take to get to your hometown from here? There's a dormitory here specifically for the library. If you don't have a place to stay, I can register you. Anchoress replied, that's all right, but my family is rather large. I have a house. Ileana and Mino were surprised and asked in unison, really? But there's a private resort being built nearby. Anchoress calmly confirmed yes. She then thought to herself, that resort under construction belongs to him. Both of them asked again in unison, whoa, so your house is that huge mansion in front of the resort? She closed her eyes slightly and softly confirmed, yes. Then muttered, why do I feel so embarrassed? They both continued, so, who built that magnificent resort? Anchoress didn't answer immediately, but remained silent and thought to herself with some displeasure. I told him I wanted to live a peaceful life, so I wanted a normal mansion. But why did he build a resort behind it? Zen is very generous, no matter what he does. In just a short time, I happened to hear that he built a mansion and a resort. Who owns both of these places? Recently, it's become a hot topic in the village. I just want to live a peaceful life. Ileana suddenly asked curiously, so, Anchoress, do you know anything? She quickly glanced away and replied, no, I don't know. Mino said cheerfully, there's a pool and a huge slide there. I want to try them sometime. Ileana rested her chin on her hand and added, but it's a private resort. Even so, I really want to go to the premium movie theater there. I want to see Justice Hero, Fruit Superman on the big screen. Anchoress, hearing this, broke out in a sweat and exclaimed, that's the Ileana I know. Out of the blue, Ileana's demeanor changed, and she loudly reproached, did you just mock my Fruit Superman? A hero's heart never sleeps in the face of evil. Isn't that great? Anchoress helplessly confirmed, I see. She then suddenly recalled what Eunice had told her. In the last mission, were you the one who made that criminal faint? If so, you're a dangerous girl. Be careful with inappropriate words and actions when you're around her. She then quickly thought to herself, that's why. But she couldn't concentrate as Unza's voice kept echoing in her head. I'm sure the tree here is also female. I think the fountain is too. So she immediately commanded herself, focus on work. When I focus on work, time flies by so fast. It's time to go home. Later that afternoon, at Anchoress's mansion, after looking at the mansion for a moment, she couldn't help but think to herself, what a beautiful place. Looking around cautiously, Anchoress continued to think to herself, being too attractive is really a problem. She quickly opened the door, stepped inside, and announced, I'm home, Zai Zin. I was at the office today. Seeing the empty living room, devoid of anyone except Bobby sprawled on the sofa, yawning widely after waking up, she couldn't help but wonder, is no one home? Noticing a note on the table, she immediately picked it up. I went to the grocery store, it read. After reading Faison's message, she realized, so that's why it's so quiet. She slowly walked over to the sofa and plopped down next to Bobby. Then, with a hint of sulking in her voice, she said, you didn't even notice me or ask how my day was. He quickly responded, so how was your day? Anchoress suddenly leaned against him, resting her head on his body, and sighed, life is so hard. Then, for some reason, she remained in that position, silent for a moment. It turned out that the softness of Bobby's thick fur had captivated her, and she couldn't help but stroke it repeatedly. After a while, she softly murmured, so comfortable. Bobby, however, was quite uncomfortable with her actions and immediately complained, I'm losing my fur. My fur is going away. Do you know that stress is dangerous and it causes fur loss? Hearing this, Anchoress quickly sat up and apologized sincerely. I'm sorry. Then, she thought in surprise, so even divine beasts lose their fur. Bobby didn't say anything but quickly got off the sofa and wearily walked towards the refrigerator. The divine dog, Bobby, then simply sat down on the floor and started chugging beer as if to drown his sorrows. Seeing this, Anchoress thought in amazement, wow, impressive. Seems like this isn't the first time. Then, she quickly asked, Bobby, do you want a bath? Hearing her question, his eyes immediately lit up with joy. He excitedly replied, of course. Let's go. Great. Anchoress quickly echoed, great. He grinned and affirmed, yes, and is the best. Instead of immediately replying, she muttered to herself, normally, Bobby takes care of himself with magic, so he really enjoys baths like this. Then, with a slight smile, she responded, okay. As she enthusiastically scrubbed him, she determinedly thought, I must protect this precious fur at all costs. Suddenly, she heard a rustling sound coming from the nearby bushes. Immediately alert, she thought, wait a minute. Now, then, cautiously, she asked, Bobby, is there anyone else in this mansion besides the two of us right now? He blinked, his eyes wide with confusion, and asked, huh? Anchoress didn't reply, but continued to think warily, I just heard something in the bushes. I definitely didn't mishear. Her face suddenly darkened, and she shivered, saying, I feel like someone is watching me. As soon as Anchoress finished speaking, the mysterious person suddenly started walking towards her, allowing her to see clearly. The person was a slender teenager with sleek purple hair and didn't seem to be someone with ill intentions. Just as she was about to speak to him, he suddenly yelled, ah, which surprised her a little, making her think, oh, was he startled by Bobby? He then hurriedly raised both hands as if to signal him not to come closer before stammering, I'm okay. That kid. Bobby suddenly lowered his head and growled, then unexpectedly gave a wicked grin, saying, perhaps surprised by the attractiveness of this body, even though I was a bit shabby before. Anchoress suddenly pulled Bobby's cheeks with both hands and coldly reminded him, you need to change that right now. He quickly confirmed, right, I changed a long time ago. She angrily shouted, stop joking around. Hearing this, he immediately turned his head and winked at her, then barked loudly, woof. She immediately burst out laughing, then cheerfully asked, did you really think I was startled by a dog? I live with my brother in the house across the street, and what surprised me wasn't this big guy. I recognized it was a summoned beast in an instant. He suddenly fell silent and glanced towards her. Then while walking continued compared to that, as soon as he reached her, he suddenly raised his hand and slipped it behind her waist, causing her to cry out in surprise, hey. Then, without a word, he suddenly brought his face close to hers and stared at her for a moment, then calmly remarked, it's all wet. Anchoress quickly explained, because I just bathed Bobby, but this is a bit too close, isn't it? He unexpectedly complimented her, it smells wonderful. Next, he gently lifted her hair, then softly placed a kiss on it. Then, smiling, he introduced himself. I'm Corey Lin. You can call me Corin. And you. As soon as he returned from the grocery store, Faison immediately placed the grocery bag on the table, then quickly put on an apron and muttered, everything is ready. Basically, everything in this house is done by the servants. But sometimes the Bina members also take turns cooking. While sprinkling spices on the halishas, he said somewhat ominously, if I sprinkle 200-year-old Manalagra powder in here. Halishas widened his eyes and continued, that's fine, the two of them can still eat it. Let me correct that, this is a cooking video. Today is Face's turn. Faison crossed his arms and muttered to himself, why is it so quiet? Is no one home? He had only taken a few steps when he unexpectedly saw Corey Lin holding Anchoress tightly around the waist and bending down to press his face against hers. Seeing this, he felt extremely uneasy and thought to himself, how did he know? Does he have unusually sharp eyes? Or is it just because of the wet shirt? Or do they know the identity of the person I sent? Thinking of this, Faison's heart involuntarily pounded. Along with that, images of a few people suddenly appeared in his mind, making him even more uneasy. So he immediately went to the door and opened it. He came out. Then he asked loudly, and are you there? The moment he opened the door, he suddenly stopped asking for some reason. It turned out it was because he saw Corey Lin kissing Anchoress on the cheek. After witnessing this scene, Faison just stood still, dumbfounded, staring at the two of them. As for Bobby, he was sleeping soundly next to them. Corey Lin blushed, smiling brightly, and said, caught you off guard. Anchoress, surprised by the sudden kiss, just stood frozen in place, dazed and bewildered for a long time. A moment later, Anchoress suddenly asked, how can I forget this horrible feeling? Faison, fuming, didn't answer but retorted, barging in like that. What just happened? While eating, she exclaimed, delicious. Then, a little embarrassed, she apologized, sorry. He frowned angrily and asked, why didn't you do anything? She smiled sheepishly and explained, because it was so sudden. Next, she quickly thought to herself, that person. Then she suddenly remembered Corlin's bright smile and his words before saying goodbye. It's surprising, isn't it? I also think I made your heart skip a beat. So check it, okay. Resting her chin on her hand, she thought worriedly, what is it? I still feel so anxious. Just then, Faison suddenly spoke. Although we can't die, there's still many dangerous and terrible things in this world. So be careful. Are you worried? She asked, looking down, stunned. Yes, she replied. Hearing her say that, he brought her a plate of dessert and encouraged her. Anyway, there's still a lot of things that are tiring you out. Here's dessert. Eat and rest. Anchoress, touched, thought to herself. Even so, I feel at ease because Faye is here. Faison suddenly criticized loudly. You just sleep and lie around all the time. Do you know your duty is to be loyal? Bobby retorted indignantly. Am I a guard dog? He rebuked angrily. No, you have to work for your food. Don't just sleep stupidly and do nothing. Hearing this, Bobby affirmed his worth loudly. I'm not stupid. I'm super smart. While leisurely enjoying the dessert plate, Anchoress exclaimed with emotion, so sweet. So this is what it feels like to have someone by my side. It all started from a small game. Sang Rodahara excitedly suggested, come on, explain it. You'll be temporarily uncomfortable because of trivial matters. Holding a card in his hand, Julius explained, but thanks to that, you'll truly understand your heart. It's not bad for you. Sang Rodahara, after listening, smiled and asked, did the card really say that? Julius wondered, I wonder what it is. While Faison had no interest in this game and quickly turned his head away in indifference, Halicious was very amused and chuckled, urging, this is interesting. Read the card for in two. A moment later, in Anchoress's room, Halicious suddenly frowned and asked with a pale, uncomfortable face, can't you just not go to work? Then he immediately turned his head away, leaving Anchoress extremely confused. While putting on her coat, she frowned and thought to herself, I can't live peacefully for even a single day. Seeing her continued silence, Halicious quickly ran into the room and coaxed, just quit your job. I'll take care of you. No, how about 3 days off? You said the work was easy. She didn't answer, but broke out in a sweat, fuming inwardly. I've only been working for 2 days. How can it be easy? Just as she was about to leave, Halicious immediately spread his arms to block her. Seeing this, Julius hurriedly reminded him, Helly, let's go. She retorted loudly, no, I like it. At this moment, she suddenly remembered the bracelet Mr. Spalland had given her, and his words, this is a protective bracelet. Each stone is embedded with a different type of magic. After recalling this, she whispered, Spalland, then clenched her fist and silently thanked him in her heart. Thank you. Then she shouted, teleport. Seeing Anchoress disappear into thin air like that, Halicious was extremely panicked and cried out, don't go in. Don't go like that. Mr. Spalland asked in surprise, how is she okay? She replied, he said I couldn't go to work. Halicious, extremely unwilling, asked, and can you think about it again? Then he rambled on, do you really have to go? Stay home and play with me. Or how about just 2 days? Just 2 days. Julius suddenly said in a stern voice, for 2 days, starting today, you will encounter misfortunes. So pay more attention to your actions. You might take on a lot of work, or you might suffer a lot of humiliation. So be careful when you go out. Just tell him that he's noisy. Hearing this, Mr. Spalland asked in surprise, oh, you know about fortune-telling too? Halicious replied loudly, maybe he doesn't know about these things, but this guy is very good at fortune-telling. Anchoress added, then I just need to be careful, right? Fortune-telling is quite vague anyway. He suddenly said, that bad luck, it's not from today but yesterday, right? No, it's from today. Did something happen yesterday? Anchoress quickly turned her head to look the other way and pretended not to know, replying, nothing. Halicious quickly grabbed her hand and, with tears in his eyes, pledged, if anything happens, you must call me immediately. I'll come as soon as I'm done. Hearing this, she replied a little embarrassed, all right. Then she quickly opened the door and said, okay, goodbye everyone. I'm going to work. He sincerely reminded her loudly, be careful, and she didn't reply but quickly slammed the door shut and left. A moment later, at the mansion where Anchoress was working, for some unknown reason, Ileana was smiling happily, while Sukulin was crying miserably. It turned out that Ileana had completely cleaned the surrounding space, which is why she was so happy, while Sukulin was reading a romance novel, hence his emotional state. Seeing this, Anchoress couldn't help but feel speechless, thinking to herself, why is this place so chaotic? Suddenly, someone greeted her, "Good morning." She immediately replied, "Good morning, Commander." Oles asked with a bright smile, "You're early, Anchoress. Did you bring the documents I asked for yesterday?" Hearing this, she immediately let out an "oh," and then panicked inwardly. "I was in such a hurry that I completely forgot." She then quickly apologized, "I'm sorry. I must have still been half asleep. I'll bring them right away, sir," and quickly contacted Spalland. "Spalland, can you hear me?" he asked, clutching his head in a panic. "What's wrong? Is it bad luck?" Anchoress quickly explained, "No, I left some things at home." "Are you at home?" she asked. Hearing this, he sighed in relief and replied, "Oh, good heavens, everyone's at work. See you later." Oles suddenly broke out in a sweat, then chuckled and said, "If you forgot to bring it, just go to the main office and talk to Midgen. You can postpone the deadline until tomorrow." As soon as Midgen's name was mentioned, for some reason, Sukulin immediately yelled out. Then, with a terrified expression, he said, "Midgen? That's a nightmare of a name. That's someone everyone in headquarters, even Unit 1, is afraid of." Anchoress asked in surprise, "Really? In that case, I'll go home and bring it." She suddenly calmed down and calmly added, "But might be okay if it's you, because you're her type." As soon as Anchoress entered the room, Midgen gasped. Then, with a sly grin, she asked, "Not the young man, but a slender young woman? You're the new recruit in Investigation Unit 2, right?" Anchoress mumbled nervously. Word travels fast. After learning that she had left the file at home, Midgen said, "You can bring the documents tomorrow. Instead, how about having lunch with me?" Anchoress, hearing this, broke out in a sweat and asked with wide-eyed surprise, "Yes." As soon as Anchoress finished recounting what happened, Sukulin anxiously asked, "Huh? She really said that? She'll talk about things and just thinking about it. That lunch sounds difficult." Anchoress responded with a worried expression, "I'll send the documents as soon as possible today. No, this afternoon." With that, she quickly opened the door and walked out. Sukulin, seeing this, asked, "Where are you going?" She looked at him blankly for a few seconds and replied, "Well, it's lunchtime. Even if I'm hungry, why do you look like that?" He smiled gently and said comfortingly, "I'll bring you some good food." Anchoress asked, confused, "Don't we have a cafeteria? Why do you have to bring me food?" A few minutes later, as the two were walking and chatting happily, they quickly stopped when they saw a crowd ahead, noisily discussing something. Anchoress quickly asked, "Why is everyone so loud?" Sukulin replied, "I don't know. It's probably not because of Amian, right? Or is it that kid from the Mu unit?" Anchoress thought curiously, "Who are Amian and that other person?" The crowd suddenly gasped and exclaimed, "Oh my God, he's walking by." He looked at me too. Anchoress closed her eyes and thought with a bit of exasperation, "Because he's handsome or something? The after effects of growing up on Earth are too much. That's probably why everyone is gathered here." Suddenly, someone greeted her. "Fancy meeting you again." Anchoress didn't reply, thinking irritably, this flamboyant, short guy, what? Is he in the same investigation unit as me? Wait, this kid? Sukulin asked with a cheerful grin. "You two know each other?" She didn't answer, thinking in a panic, he knows I'm a girl. Nudging Anchoress's arm with his elbow, Sukulin asked with amusement, "Who is this, Anchoress? You know each other? Why didn't you say so sooner?" Corylin called out, "Anchoress." Then, with wide eyes, he asked, "Your name is Anchoress?" She suggested in a low voice, "Come with me for a moment." Then she thought to herself, I have to stop him before he says anything. He heard her and replied, "Okay." Their colleagues, hearing this, started chattering noisily. Then Corylin asked suspiciously, "What's up? Is there something interesting to see?" For some reason, she suddenly widened her eyes in surprise and froze, her mouth agape. For a moment, seeing them suddenly get excited, she couldn't help but wonder, what are they so excited about? Even though he had reminded them, the colleagues continued their enthusiastic chatter. That's definitely his style. Corylin. He's even cute when he's angry. Get even angrier. Seeing that the two of them seemed to want to talk privately, Sukulin quickly left, saying, "I'll go ahead." Corylin asked Anchoress with a bright smile, "Do you work here? That guy suddenly dragged you away yesterday, so I didn't get to ask your name. I couldn't sleep last night. Who was that guy? Family or friend? Why did you call me out here? Are you afraid of your disguise being discovered? I understand. You know what? The uniforms here are for both men and women. But there's one difference." Pointing at her buttons, he calmly explained, "Right here. When you button them up, for men, it's on the right. For women, it's on the left." She gasped in realization, then thought in surprise, "I only wear men's clothes, so I've never noticed these differences. Now, I know the difference is in the button placement." Corylin asked curiously, "But why are you hiding it?" Just by looking, He didn't finish his sentence before someone suddenly called out, "Anchoress." Eunice, then, breathing heavily, Eunice said, "So you're here. you have a visitor. Julius quickly walked over and gave a curt salute that it's me. Anchorus was incredibly surprised, thinking, How is he here? Rushing towards her, he said with a slight pout, I'm here. You didn't answer me. She didn't reply, but suddenly punched him in the stomach. He clutched his stomach in pain and asked, You mean it, right? Anchoress didn't answer, but quickly bowed her head and said gratefully, Thank you, Commander. He's an acquaintance of mine. UNS asked in surprise. Really? He's dressed all in black and suddenly appeared, giving me quite a fright. Although he seemed suspicious, I still brought him here. Anchoress was stunned, thinking suspicious, but still brought him here. Then she reproachfully asked, Commander, why did you? He calmly replied, You pinched me in front of the interrogation room earlier. He continued indignantly, I can do that, but you can't. Anchoress was speechless, thinking, Okay, I'm fine. Julius muttered, I worked so hard to get here, and you're so cold to me. You know why I'm here, but you're still cold to me. Rubbing her cheek, he said, I'm not being cold. But who told you to surprise me like that? My poor, exercise-deprived cheek. He protested loudly. I don't know. You talk too much. She quickly compromised. All right. So why are you here? Handing her a folder, he said curtly, She gasped in surprise. He quickly continued, Zen threatened me to bring this to you. Anyway, that old man was great. Thanks to him, I could skip the meeting and come here. She quickly grabbed the file and said, I was just about to get this. Julia shrugged and asked with a playful smile, Grateful? She replied yes, then thought to herself, I have to thank Zen when I get home. Just then, he suddenly reached out his hand and then pressed down hard on her head, making her cry out in surprise, ah. Then she continued to yell 2 more times, ah, hey, and then laughed cheerfully. Suddenly remembering something, Julius stopped what he was doing and turned to look behind him. Then he asked coldly, Who's this? Anchoress was startled and thought to herself, Oops, I totally forgot. Coraline asked with a bright smile, You two seem close. Are you family? He curtly replied, Not at all. Not blood related. After saying that, they both fell silent and stared at each other for a long moment, leaving her completely bewildered and sweating as she thought, I don't know how it turned into this. I have to resolve this quickly before something happens. Adjusting her glasses, Eunice said excitedly, Aha, this is getting interesting. Having finished her thought, Anchoress quickly introduced them. This is Julius. We're not blood related, but he's like family to me. This is Coraline. We're in different departments, but we're colleagues. Coraline rested her chin on her hand and muttered, Colleagues. She then suggested coldly, All right, say hello to each other, you two. He gave a grudging chuckle and said hello. Julius crossed his arms arrogantly and thought, Say hello? Why should I do that? What if I don't want to? Seeing him remain silent and not greeting or asking anything, Anchoress could only nudge him hard. Then, while continuing to nudge him a few more times, she thought angrily, Do you think I enjoy standing here? I just don't want any weird rumors going around your workplace. She urged coldly, Say hello. Then she stared at him for a long moment, making him break out in a cold sweat from fear. He reluctantly waved and greeted, fine, hello. Coraline quickly replied, Oh yeah, but why don't you take off your hat? Usually, people take their hats off when greeting each other. Or do you have another reason? No offense. UNS quickly rubbed his chin and added, Yeah, I was wondering that too, but be careful asking about someone's personal matters. You might get into trouble. Julius grumbled, How long have you known this kid? Anchoress replied with an embarrassed laugh. Just since yesterday. Hearing that, he exclaimed, I see. Then he suddenly remembered Faison's words. Haven't you been unlucky since yesterday? And muttered to himself. Just then, Sukulin suddenly arrived and said in surprise, Oh, I came looking for Captain UNS, but everyone's here? What's going on? The atmosphere is so strange. A love triangle? Captain, tell me what's happening here. Seeing him appear out of nowhere and start gossiping, she was stunned and thought, Why is he here at this hour? Sun is the biggest gossip, seriously. Then sighed and said, What's he doing here at this hour? Sukulin cheerfully whispered, What's going on? UNS grinned and replied, We asked him not to take his hat off. Hearing that, he exclaimed, Ah, I see. Julius loudly reproached, Whether I take my hat off or not is none of your business. Sukulin quickly pouted and remarked, He must be ugly, that's why. He didn't say anything more, but stood silently for a moment. Then he asked loudly, Who? Who said I'm ugly, huh? Then he quickly pulled his hood down and loudly declared, I'm quite handsome, you know. Upon seeing his face, the whole group immediately froze, then exclaimed loudly, Amazing! Anchoress, seeing this, felt extremely uneasy and thought to herself, Ah, Julius, do you want everyone to know you're the summoner? Then she suddenly remembered what Bobby had said. I'm not stupid. I'm pretty smart, you know. Zhu resolutely thought to herself. He's probably only at Bobby's level. A moment later, in the office, Sukulin suddenly exclaimed cheerfully, "Today was truly amazing." Mino, hearing this, asked curiously, "What happened while I was gone?" He excitedly explained, "This morning, Anchoris's family came. Absolutely stunning. Just that face alone is enough to win the Best Actor award of all time." Mino suddenly asked seriously, "Age?" Then, unconcerned, he turned to look in another direction, ignoring him excitedly babbling about Julius. "They're the same age as us, so they're all young people. Family, but not blood-related." Mino quickly put his hand on his chin and continued, "Ah, so that's it, right? I know that family only has one son, Anchoris." Out of curiosity, Sukulin quickly turned to ask Ileana, "Hey, do you know their family?" She didn't answer immediately, but thought to herself, "I should probably give a brief description before they come here and bother everyone." Then she answered, "Anchoris's Bayana surname is from her mother's side. In that clan, if you're not from the direct line, you can't use the surname. Bayana, the current head of the family, has 2 daughters and 1 son. The son is quite old, around the same age as our Captain Ong. Anchoris is probably the first grandchild to be given the Bayana surname by the previous head." One of the 2 listeners immediately exclaimed, "Uh-huh." Then, somewhat confused, asked, "But Anchoris is from the Belivas family, so he should be Anchoris Belivas, but why does he use his mother's surname?" Mino replied, "It's a bit complicated. Anchoris has a bad relationship with his father, and people are gossiping behind his back about whether he'll use his father's surname or his mother's. That's basically it. Don't poke your nose into other people's business. Everyone who comes here has their own troubles." Sukulin said, "I know." Ileana quickly assured, "I'll keep that in mind. Yes, those who are called family, even though they're not blood-related, I hope they're good people." Having just put the stack of files down on the table, Anchoris closed his eyes and stretched, thinking to himself, time to rest. Everything ended well. These documents were also transferred smoothly. Corylin quickly apologized. "I was too rude." Sukulin quickly scratched his head and added, "Me too." Julius crossed his arms and coldly remarked, "Humph, it's good that you know that." While adjusting his glasses charmingly, he chuckled, "Let's have lunch together next time." Julius suddenly spoke up, reminding her, "Be careful. Come straight home after work. Don't wander around." She didn't reply, but thought irritably to herself, "What kind of bad luck is this?" Ileana suggested with a smile, "Let's go home together." She continued to think to herself, "What could be better than this? Still, I can relax today. It turns out this was just my dream." Suddenly, someone exclaimed, "So cute! Look at those chubby cheeks." Seeing Halicia's suddenly appear there, she was incredibly surprised and thought to herself, "Hell, how could she be here?" As soon as they saw Halicia's, Anchoris's colleagues immediately started chattering. "Hello, hello. Oh, it's Sun, just like a doll. Who are you waiting for, little one? What are you doing here alone? Where are your parents? So cute. Oh my, in the future, she'll become a shining heroine. Want some candy?" Seeing this, she panicked and thought to herself, trying to stop them, "Captain, wait a minute. Cute is just an outer appearance." Halicia's suddenly frowned and growled a few times. Then she yelled, "Old man," before she could finish her sentence. Anchoris quickly covered her mouth and explained with a laugh, "Isn't she cute? That's my little sister. Come on, say hello everyone by now." A few minutes later, on the way back to the mansion, she suddenly asked, "Were you worried so you can't pick me up?" She quickly turned her head away and replied sulkily, I told you not to go there, but you didn't listen. Do you know how worried I was? I was really worried. I know one won't die, but I don't like him getting hurt, and I hate it when it is in pain. Doesn't understand this heartache." After saying that, she angrily huffed twice and fell silent. Anchoris scratched her face awkwardly and explained, "There were some documents that needed to be reorganized. I'll only deal with urgent matters, and we'll take a leave of absence the day after tomorrow, okay?" Halicia's asked happily, "Really?" Anchoris immediately confirmed. "Really, I'll be more careful tomorrow," she replied with a happy smile. "Okay." Then, remembering something, she asked, "I heard that Julie came today?" She replied, "Yes." Halicia's quickly added, "Anyway, that kid is really interesting." That evening, at the Maze Mansion themed attraction, someone slowly opened the door and asked, "Are you going out just like that?" "This is that mansion full of scary sounds, isn't it?" The blonde girl replied with a bright smile. "Even so, how many chances do we have to enjoy this thrill in our lives?" Then she suddenly held out her hand and said with a wide smile, "Once in a lifetime." The brown-haired girl quickly took her hand and replied, "Honestly, I know." Then she thought to herself, "My sister has always been a free and energetic person. The family my sister is marrying into this time is very strict, so maybe this exploration of the mansion will be her last adventure. There's no stopping her. For her sake, I'll just endure it a little. Suddenly, she heard a clattering sound, which startled her and made her yell. Voice, and then tearfully pleaded, "Sister, I can't take it anymore. Let's go back, please." The blonde girl turned and reassured her, "Lynn, don't worry. Everything here is fake. All the monsters we see are just props." Lynn continued shakily, but then abruptly stopped when she heard a rather ghastly scream echoing continuously in the room. She quickly covered her ears with her hands and asked in a panic, "The screams I just heard, are they all fake too?" The blonde girl replied gravely, "It sounds real, sister," and gulped nervously. Suddenly, a roar echoed near them, startling both of them. And immediately afterward, they saw a dark figure appear in front of them, not far from where they were standing. Lynn, frightened, hid behind the other girl and trembled. "Sister, over there, it looks like a person." As soon as she spoke, the strange dark figure suddenly started walking towards them, causing both of them to shudder and cling to each other in fear, staring at it in disgust. A horrified gasp escaped Anchoress. Flipping through the book in her hand, the pages rustling, Anchoress said, "Julius." Anchoress pressed, "Do you know about the Maze Mansion?" Julius was equally curious. "What is it?" Anchoress recounted, "It's a private tourist attraction recently opened by the Marquis in Bisesric. I heard it's built around a mystery theme. Don't you like things like that?" "I can't believe you assumed I would." Julius retorted grumpily, "Hey, what kind of person do you think I am? I'm not interested in that crap. Don't misrepresent my tastes." Anchoress, curious, said, "But that Maze Mansion, I feel like I've heard about a long time ago." She then turned her attention to Espalin.d. "Oh, you know about it, Zen?" Spalin sighed. "Yeah. As a matter of fact, I know it very well." Suddenly, as if a sore spot had been poked, he burst out angrily, "That damn place is the reason my resort park went under. Damn it." The amount of information she was receiving about the place made Anchoress even more intrigued, "That I'm curious about what it's like." "There's a place like that." Spalin was surprised. "You're curious?" Seeing Anchoress's intense curiosity, he offered more information. Spalin said, "The Maze Mansion is a private park with a mystery theme. It's based on a private park in the country of Rabum, east of the continent, and a lot of people invested in it. But ever since it opened, there have been a lot of rumors about it, and eventually an accident happened, and it was shut down." Spalin, still pained by the memory of his own park, slumped his head dejectedly. "That private park in Rabum was also shut down, and my resort park suffered the same fate and was leveled." Anchoress asked curiously, "Huh? What happened?" Spalin tearfully recounted, "A foreign lady visited and lost her life there." At this point, Anchoress noticed the document in her hand. She confirmed, "This is exactly what I saw in the document. If it was a foreigner, it was probably Chiva." She recalled, in Bisesric, "There's an ambassador from my country, which is also a brother nation and the #1 ally of my homeland. If both countries adhere to the conditions, both nations will recognize each other's chain of protection. But even so, if something happens in my country, of course, the head of state must be changed first." She leaned her whole body against the plush doll. Anchoress sipped her hot tea thoughtfully. "The documents about that incident have been sent to the embassy, because this is a matter that could greatly affect the relationship between Rabum and Bisajua. Tomorrow will be very busy." Anchoress softly asked, "But what if that place was also built in the resort area?" Spalin playfully twirled his beard and said, "Of course. But if you visit there in the summer, it will be quite cold." His words sent shivers down Anchoress's spine. "But you're still clearing the land, right, Zen?" Suddenly, Julius spoke coldly from beside her. "Don't go there." Anchoress was bewildered. "Speculation? Are you talking about that Maze Mansion?" Julius nodded. "Yes." Contrary to her fear, she took a sip of tea, pondering a plan to make him anxious. She thought to herself, "Should I make him curious?" Anchoress spoke up, "You know, I'm an office worker, so I don't have time to go anywhere." Julius seemed gradually persuaded. "Really? Then all right." His dull tone irritated her. "Your life is always so boring." "Is it fun to say that?" Julius flinched like a frightened puppy. "Why? What should I do?" Anchoress sighed. "All right, I have to do this now." As night fell, thunder rumbled and rain poured down. Anchoress stood outside the Maze Mansion, holding an umbrella. She stood in the downpour, staring blankly. "Why do I have to come here? And in this weather, too?" She clutched the documents tightly in her hand. She thought to herself, "Just deliver the documents and leave." She pressed the button on her earpiece, a static sound crackling. The door creaked open ominously. She stepped inside alone. Creaking sounds echoed. Anchoress smelled a strange odor. What's that smell? It's like disinfectant. She stopped in front of a large door and reached out to open it. Just then, there was a communication. She startled and listened. Yes, Mino. Anchoress asked tensely. Can you hear me? The other side replied. I can hear you, but... Anchoress, is that you? She replied. Yes, I'm here to deliver the missing documents to headquarters. Where are you? The voice on the other end replied. Ah, wait there. Beep beep. Hearing the beeping, Anchoress was confused. He hung up. While she was thinking to herself, if Mino said so, I just need to wait for him to come, right? Her eyes landed on a magazine on a chair. Curious, she picked it up. Why is there a magazine in a place like this? On the cover of the magazine was a handsome male model. Anchoress wondered, what's the model's name? This strange feeling. Suddenly, the door opened and a voice called out. Anchoress! Mino's face was a mixture of emotions upon seeing her there. He exclaimed in alarm, Hey, why are you here? You should be at the office. Sukulin, standing beside him, was also sweating with fear. My dear friend, I was scared to death when you came here. Seeing Sukulin about to hug her, Anchoress quickly rolled up the magazine and pushed him away. Anchoress nervously explained, This is the list of items used by the departments along with the architectural plan. Looking at the documents in his hand, Mino muttered, Well, it's here now. He pressed his earpiece and beeped. This is Mino. The documents have arrived. What do I do with them now? The voice on the other end replied, Nothing's changed. So the first floor is like that, and there are drawings scattered around like something written. Was it mentioned in the documents? Anchoress, curious about Mino's whispering, glanced over. Someone just mentioned the name Amian. Sukulin stood in front of her, holding up a finger as if hinting at something. A moment later, he clutched his stomach, retching, making Anchoress break out in a cold sweat. Then, Sukulin acted as if nothing had happened. At this point, Anchoress seemed to understand something and quickly spoke up. You mean room number 1? Sukulin excitedly gave a cheerful thumbs up. Anchoress thought, so it's not Amian then. Mino suddenly spoke. These are the images mentioned in the documents, right? Are you even listening to me? Startled, Anchoress replied, No, I had a preview this morning. Mino contacted the other person again. S.O. Senior, can you explain this? The voice on the other end yelled, You brat, if I could explain it, it would already be done. Scolded, Mino angrily shouted back, I can't even read this. How dare you ask me that? Haha, well, I thought since you've lived longer than me, you'd know. This is from room 1. Don't you even know that? Watching Mino struggle to relay the information, Anchoress also broke out in a cold sweat. She thought, so that's why they're from Heli. Did he just say live longer? Anchoress suggested, so I'll go over there and take a look. Before she could leave, Sukulin quickly stopped her. And are you going to leave me here alone? It's so scary here. Suddenly, Anchoress bumped into someone. Oof, having been bumped into, Pluto roared, What's going on? Why are staff here? Seeing Pluto appear, everyone fell silent, not daring to make sound. Before anything else could happen, Dream appeared behind him. Dream softly asked, What's the matter, Pluto? He quickly replied, Nothing, Marquis. I saw that white uniform, and I'm not angry anymore. Dream then said, I'm sure they haven't caused any trouble. Pluto softly replied, I apologize, Marquis, for letting staff wander into this place. Hearing his words, Anchoress was startled. Does he mean I did something wrong? Her mood plummeted, and she lowered her head, moving aside to avoid them. She thought, I'll continue avoiding them on the main road. I managed to come this far. Suddenly, Pluto's voice made her stop. That you're the Count's child who was recently recruited, aren't you? He glared, sizing her up. You don't look like what people say about you. You should just stay in the office. We're incompetent people doing here. What else do you need? His condescending words grated on Mino, who was standing beside her. Mino spoke up loudly. Sir Pluto. Seeing Mino raise his voice for the first time, a tense Sukulin, standing behind him, quickly gestured with his hand. Hey! Anchoress also stepped forward. Excuse me, sir. Anchoress explained, I was assigned this task and title by my superiors and am carrying out my duties. Her expression became serious as she reiterated. So, is there a problem? Remembering a previous incident, he angrily roared, Another failure. Nothing worthwhile at all. A woman nearby couldn't contain her frustration and yelled, Hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. A frightened young woman stammered, Anchoress, I'm disappointed in you. Pluto crossed his arms and scoffed. Seems like you're not as capable as rumored. I can't believe he'd criticize you to your face. Anchoress clenched her fists in anger. That I won't be treated like this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. Anchoress coldly retorted. I received orders from my superior, and I'm carrying out my mission. But there's no reason for me to listen to such words from a mere rank 2 like you, instead of my commander. Pluto was stunned into speechlessness. Huh? Pluto questioned, an official mission? Mino, hand over the file as proof. Anchoress reiterated, you ordered me to deliver the documents to the scene. The person in charge is the commander of Squad 1. If you have any issues, ask him first. Being mocked by these youngsters made him grind his teeth in frustration. Anchoress suddenly noticed something and quickly asked, you said it would be after processing. Do I need to do that? Mino chuckled, perhaps. Watching Anchoress and Mino gloat in front of him, Pluto gritted his teeth, wanting to tear them apart. Dream, who had been watching the drama unfold, finally muttered, so, it's about the documents, huh? A voice from behind caught Anchoress's attention. Over here. Dream held out a piece of paper. My eyesight isn't very good. Could you read this for me? It's written on this paper. Anchoress took the paper and nodded. Oh, yes. Looking at the contents of the letter, Anchoress was startled. This is a short but rather peculiar story. There are two types of hieroglyphs, one representing the contrast in Wiggins' dialogue, and the other belonging to the divine. This type of hieroglyph is typically used by gypsies or in the entertainment industry. It's a combination of the lowest and the highest forms of language achievable. Anchoress thought to herself, how interesting. A cipher. Then Anchoress read the contents aloud. It began with light, with existence itself. Everyone present held their breath as she continued. Golden player, golden. Writing, language, knowledge, civilization, none were given by God, but exist only through force. Pluto and Sukulin listened silently as she read. Anchoress's voice rang out. That's all I could understand. One more thing, it wasn't created. Remember that you were born from a womb. Anchoress gripped the letter, reading each word clearly. Come here. At this point, Dream exclaimed in a panicked voice, is that all? Anchoress scratched her head sheepishly. Yes, I don't quite understand what it means either. I'm sorry. Suddenly, her mood turned somber as she blamed herself, causing Dream to quickly reassure her. No, thank you so much. Dream's expression made Anchoress breathe. A sigh of relief, but her eyes met the others, and their stiff expressions startled her. What's with those looks? Dream's 180-degree change in attitude left everyone bewildered. He smiled and introduced himself. I'm Dream Moonawintham. You said you're in room 2, right? Perhaps we'll cross paths again in the future. Anchoress extended her hand in return, but she was so tense she didn't dare blink. She thought to herself, if that's Wintham, then this is the true power of the country. Then Dream turned to Pluto and said softly, she was just lying about being incompetent. Everything happened so suddenly that Anchoress stood frozen. A voice rang out, let's head back, Sir Bokdo. Watching them leave, Manu quickly reached out to stop them. She spoke up, wait, where are you two going? Are you finished with your assignments? Pluto frowned and replied, I have something more important to do. Please excuse me. Manu, thinking she misheard, exclaimed, what? What could be more important than saving people? Anchoress, standing behind them, observed curiously, what's going on? Are they going to look for the person who killed that young lady? Suddenly, a voice rang out, breaking the somber atmosphere. I've received information from the Golden Alchemist. 1 hour is too quick. You know we should find him first. Manu froze, stunned by the information. The voice continued. The search and rescue team is still moving. Hopefully, the investigation can resume soon. A door opened, and a voice from outside drifted in. I have to come in to deliver that announcement. Everyone in the room was rooted to the spot. Suddenly, a strange hand touched Anchoress's shoulder, making her jump while she was lost in thought. I have to go out first, Anchoress. The sudden approach made her break out in a cold sweat. What? The person replied. I need your help with something. Anchoress muttered. Why do I feel so uneasy? Helija stood nearby, arms crossed, frowning and scolding. You promised to come home early. Julius softly reminded. Hey, don't go there. Anchoress whispered. Seeing Anchoress's hesitation at the request, Manu, her pride wounded, spoke up. If you're tired, you can refuse. Even though everyone's lives are in danger, you just need to look at it once and analyze it. We've been abandoned, even though no one has explained why. The pressure from everyone's words made Anchoress extremely uncomfortable, her face as gloomy as stale noodles. Manu tried to add, of course, if you Anchoress stay, we'll be more stable. Sukulin, hearing this, chimed in, I'm so excited. If it is here, I won't be afraid of anything. Manu raised a finger enthusiastically, declaring, there's no other way but to entrust this to Anchorus, the one who spoke those words that even the descendant of the Black, which Wyndham couldn't explain. If anything happens, I'll call someone. Looking at their emotions, Anchorus sighed. I guess I've dug my own grave. Time passed, and footsteps echoed, followed by a thud. Succulin, startled by the footsteps, screamed, "Ah!" Manu frowned and assessed. "O'Connell, what are you doing?" Anchorus thought back. According to them, firstly, Investigation Headquarters Number 2 only handles murder investigations. However, 6 days ago, 2 young ladies from Chiba went missing there, so they received the missing person report and continue to handle the search. Anchorus looked at the report and gently questioned, "But it was 6 days ago. Isn't that a bit late?" Manu leaned on her hand and sighed. "I still believe they're alive. We have to find them quickly," she recounted. One of the 2 young ladies, not long after, it seems there was a wedding ceremony. Manu, shocked by what she heard, jumped up and frowned, stating, "The rumors have been dealt with, and they were secretly searched for in the house. But ultimately, it was unsuccessful, and Wyndham and the embassy were contacted." Anchorus was bewildered. "So what should we do now?" A strange cry from outside sent chills down their spines. "Gakit!" Manu's voice rang out. "Now, we should probably go to the basement. That's the most chaotic place." They started to step inside. Succulin, a little timidly, clung tightly to Manu, walking behind him. Anchorus recalled, "I've seen it in the blueprints. Quite a unique architecture. If you think this is the first floor, you're actually on the second. If you think this is the second floor, the basement will suddenly appear. It's like playing with people's emotions. If you just walk around without thinking, you'll never find your way out." Droplets of water appeared on the pathway, dripping onto the stones. So much water had collected that puddles formed along the path. Anchorus paused before one of the puddles. She stammered, "This is..." Manu and Sun followed Anchorus into the dark passage. Surprised to see her kneeling down to examine something, they asked, "Anchorus." Immediately after, they saw a shimmering blue powder on Anchorus's hand. It seemed she was examining it closely, perhaps having found it on the ground. Anchorus brought the powder closer to her eyes and observed it carefully. She thought to herself, "I'm certain this is..." Anchorus voiced her deduction. "This is sleeping powder." Hearing the name, both Manu and Sun gasped in surprise. Anchorus continued, "It's usually ingested or inhaled. Seeing as it's turned black like this, it must have been burned. I wonder if either of you ladies suffers from insomnia." One of them denied it. "No, there haven't been any reports of that." Anchorus slowly stood up. She looked at Manu. "If so, could this belong to a guest?" Manu, rummaging through her pockets, replied, "No one is allowed to bring anything in here." She pulled out a specialized flashlight, switched it on, and shone it directly on the bag of sleeping powder. Anchorus silently observed Manu's actions, thinking, "I don't know why I care about this anymore, but I feel like I shouldn't ignore it." At that moment, Anchorus suddenly remembered the small item Zen had given her before they came here. She looked at Spallan's magic bracelet and whispered, "Maybe I should try praying?" Just as she thought this, the bracelet shimmered with a blue light. She held out her hand, imbued with magic, towards the bag and whispered, "If anyone is unconscious because of this sleeping powder, they will wake up immediately." Anchorus asked Manu and Sun, "Anyway, you know this is sleeping powder, right?" Manu, who had been observing the powder, looked up and replied, "I just thought it was some kind of tool." Manu's answer surprised Anchorus. She seemed unexpected by Manu's naivety, thinking, "I can't just say I use it to try and kill myself. That would be weird." So she couldn't do anything but respond with a forced laugh. "Ha ha ha." Just then, Sun seemed to have noticed something strange. Manu quickly picked up on this and asked, "What is it?" Sun suddenly countered with a question of her own. "Don't you hear anything?" Manu was clearly taken aback by the question. "What?" Now all 3 fell silent, making the strange sound even more apparent. Anchorus, on guard, shielded them. The sound grew louder, and then there was another noise, something hitting the ground with a loud thud. Sun spoke up as the 3 of them were still trying to locate the source of the sounds. I get it." As if drawn by something, Manu suddenly grimaced and widened her eyes. Without warning, she ran quickly ahead. Anchorus, startled and momentarily unable to react, called out her name, "Manu." Sun seemed used to this. He said to Anchorus, "Looks like she found something." Anchorus, still unsure what to do, immediately looked at Sun when she heard this. "Right, let's go." Immediately, both of them ran after Manu. Anchorus thought to herself, Manu sensed something. It must be the souls of the 2 kidnapped people. In a moment, a mysterious door appeared before them. As soon as they opened it, They saw Manu hugging the two presumed missing victims. The two of them, looking disheveled, were terrified. Crying could be heard. Manu softly reassured them. "It's okay, you're safe now." Having just run, Anchoress was slightly out of breath. She looked at the three of them and felt relieved. Thank goodness. It's fortunate they're still alive. At that moment, the older sister suddenly said some strange words. I'm so sorry, I was really wrong. I brought her here." Manu asked them, "What happened?" The younger sister, Lin, tried to recall the frightening moment. "I heard a strange scream. I was so scared, and I fainted. And I kept sleeping deeply. Yes, I think I slept very well." Sun listened intently while scribbling these words down in his small notebook. Lin suddenly opened her eyes wide, filled with panic. Her voice trembled. "There's something on my face, hic. It feels like it's biting me." Tears started streaming down her cheeks. "The strange thing is I still slept soundly, no matter how much it hurt. My head was numb and sleepy." Manu gently touched Lin's shoulder and comforted her. It's okay, it's okay." The older sister trembled, hugging herself. She told the three of them, "We suddenly regained consciousness and woke up here, but everything around us was so dark. Everything was locked. I thought there might be a way out. I tried pushing the walls and then fell to the floor, then woke up here." Anchoress carefully observed the jagged wounds all over the girl's body. "Those are serious injuries." Manu quickly shared her thoughts with everyone. "So, it must be inside the mansion. Strange, I searched every nook and cranny, but I still couldn't find them." Anchoress suddenly spoke, hesitantly interrupting Manu. Wait a minute." Anchoress used magic from the bracelet Mr. Zen had given her to heal the two of them. Both the sisters and Manu were astonished by this. The older sister spoke first, awestruck. "Thank you." Manu looked at Anchoress and exclaimed, "Wow, that's effective." One of the victims hesitantly said, I'm not sure, but in this mansion, besides us, there seems to be someone else." Anchoress was obviously surprised by this. She immediately leaned towards the two victims. "Yes." Sun clutched his head and yelled. He seemed frightened by this statement. "What did she say?" Manu scolded him. "You scared me. Why did you yell?" Sun trembled, looking somewhat indignant to the point of tears. "I already found the missing people. We should be getting out of here, but there's someone else here." Manu gave Sun a sharp kick in the back. He flinched, and Manu angrily snapped. "Honestly," Sun yelled indignantly. "What was that for?" Manu yelled back at him, equally loud. "If you found them, you should find the Perpetra dash." "Blame me?" Sun sobbed like a 3-year-old. "I don't know. I said I was scared. You're a devil." Anchoress stood beside him, dumbfounded. "Ah," she thought. The person the young lady saw was a middle-aged woman, about 30 years old. She could be the perpetrator or the victim. "There's a lot I want to ask, but the two young ladies are in bad shape. I've sent a request to the embassy to take them home. And I've also called the #1 detective team to reconsider searching the house thoroughly." Outside the mansion where the helicopter team was staying, the rain poured down. Bobby lay lazily sprawled on the floor, yawning. He heard Julie suddenly speak. "I have a bad feeling about this. Why did you have to be so stupid and follow that house?" Bobby perked up his ears, listening to the person Julie was talking to argue back. "And trust me, my dad said to do a good job." Hearing that, Julie sighed and then smirked. "Yunin, you're the one making a fool of yourself here." Bobby remained languid. He pretended not to hear anything as someone continued to argue. "Huh? Why pretend otherwise?" Suddenly, someone's voice caught his attention. Bobby glanced over. He thought to himself, "That's right. The Bino family is famous for their obsession with the weak." Julie said, "I can't imagine them becoming like this. No compassion for anyone. Fate can't be self-determined." Good. This super intelligent body will give him some advice. So, after congratulating himself, Bobby spoke up. "All right, as a rule, teenagers mature when they fight and get hurt." He didn't even finish his sentence before he was frightened by Julie's glare. She gritted her teeth and hissed. "Hurt." Mr. Jin didn't even bother with the content of the advice Bobby considered helpful. He jumped up and roared. "You furry dog, what kind of bad luck are you talking about?" The aura emanating from their annoyance and anger really made Bobby's fur stand on end. "Humph, humph." Zhang Di, who was next to them, calmly spoke. "Sorry, Bobby, but can't get into fights and get hurt." Bobby stubbornly argued back. "What's wrong with that? My dad said all boys grow up like that." Zhang Di politely told him, "I'm sorry, but it is different." Because it is, she suddenly gave a forced laugh, not mentioning the issue further, which left Bobby momentarily disappointed. Ho, it is nothing. Bobby was thinking about the Bina clan's strange obsession, and I think it will get much more interesting later on. How will this obsession develop in the future? Will he be able to have the family relationship he longs for? If not, is a painful event from the past happening again? A dirty, gaunt hand trembled as it reached for the delicious bread placed on the plate. Very quickly, the girl snatched the bread. Her ragged clothes and dirty, scratched body didn't affect her enjoyment of the delicious food. Hee, I got it today, without dropping any. The girl chewed the bread with relish, swallowing quickly without fear of choking. She also drank large gulps of water, as if she had never eaten or drunk like this before. The girl bowed her head earnestly and sincerely. Thank you. I ate very well, although the person I'm bowing to isn't here. Every time, I bow my head to thank that person. I always hope to meet and thank them directly. To say thank you for coming here, to this poor, hellish place, and saving me. And then, finally, that day arrived. A man with indistinct features approached the imprisoned girl and kindly asked, "Little one, you're blind, aren't you?" The girl reached out, wanting to touch the person. "Ah, you've come now, my savior." Time passed quickly. The dirty girl from that day had grown up, beautiful, but miserable due to a dark life of abuse and beatings. Pieces of fabric from her long dress, adorned with pearls, fell through the air. The girl was cruelly pushed to the ground. She heard someone's insulting words. "You're truly spoiled. How could you?" The girl desperately screamed in her mind. "No, it just can't be." She tried to defend herself. No, I'm saying it wasn't me. Please, just listen to me. I didn't do it." The man reached out and yelled at her. "Hey, you're too loud. Throw her into the basement, quickly." Immediately, two knights entered and dragged the girl outside. She screamed desperately and hopelessly. "My love, it wasn't me. It wasn't me." She was dragged to a place she didn't even know. She struggled with every bit of strength to try and stand up. Her hands trembled. "My love." The man violently pushed her hand away. He quickly walked out, leaving her with terrible insults. "Traitor, you only disgust me now." The girl truly fell into despair, her tears streaming down. Unwilling to accept her fate, she bowed her head and cried. Sobs echoed in the silent space. The girl's cries gradually subsided. She fell silent, then calmly looked up. She had cried so much that her already sightless eyes became extremely pained. "Go back. No one should come to this place." Anchoress jolted as someone called her. And night. Anchoress returned to reality. The first thing she saw was Sun's worried face. Anchoress quickly told him, "Sorry, I must have fallen asleep." Sun reassured her, "You must be exhausted. Sleep well." Anchoress wearily buried her face in her hands. "Perhaps. I feel a bit uneasy after that dream. A strange dream. My head is still dizzy." Anchoress and the other two were startled by the newcomer's call. "Ah, so can I start the introductions now?" Mino pointed at him. "Of course, make it quick." Anchoress quickly realized, because I fell asleep, everyone had to postpone. Seeing this, the newcomer sighed heavily. Going above and beyond, right? Everyone's just getting to know you. He's the Silk Knight of the first dream. Knight Mino yelled over the radio, "One more minute." He has telepathic abilities. He can know everyone's emotions by their colors. Despite his young age, he's on par with Su Chi-lin. Hooter looked at the report and exclaimed, "There's no other way." "I'll read it then." A beautiful wife, a meticulous husband, and their adorable child. When the shadow of misfortune fell upon this ever-smiling family, the wife began to suffer from a rare disease. The husband tried day and night to save his wife by any means, his soul gradually becoming crippled. To prolong her life, he began the task of creating a long, underground labyrinth from their house. And when the labyrinth was completed, he began capturing young girls from the countryside and draining all their blood to give to his wife to drink. The man gradually went mad, and the girls disappeared, a wife already dead dragging her child to death as well. Then appeared the child who had died before coming to that house to find their mother and take a young girl away. That is the house of this story. This story existed before the house was built. It is said to be the ghost story of the previously abandoned house on this site. And at the request of the owner of this house, the house was rebuilt on the very foundation of the old, abandoned, desolate house. Because of the ghostly story or the peculiarity of the house, the labyrinth remains a topic attached to it. The plan, according to him, was also built in a way that easily confuses visitors' minds. Team 1 searched all the locations in the blueprint, but we didn't find any girls. But those people discovered in this house today. Hearing this, the 3 Anchoress members curiously leaned over a piece of paper to look through the contents. Hooter continued, meaning this house has a secret place not on the blueprint. It's like they're in a third space here. This is the unpublished report and the things I've compiled from the cases. Looking at it shows that before opening this ecological park, there was a pre-opening period, which is when the accident occurred. On the report, there are a few noteworthy contents that Hooter has bolded. The ecological park was completed, opened for a pilot run. Baron Boden's Visa's fleet had an accident. At Baron Boden's request, the incident was not publicized. The park's opening date was pushed back 3 months. Hooter told everyone, "Tomorrow, we plan to summon the victim, Baron Boden, to confirm some facts, but now let's check with each other." Anchoress stared intently at the contents of the report. She frowned thoughtfully. Finding the prisoners is done. So first, we should find out what happened. It seems like we'll have a real headache. Suddenly, Koku exclaimed in surprise, "Huh? It is 5 years ago, 3 tourists from Winka disappeared near the park. At that time, the Maze Mansion was an empty building. The park had been prepared to open since 3 years prior. Even before the opening, there was an abandoned house due to the epidemic, so the unpleasant rumors haven't stopped. In the early days of opening, residents rumored that the cries of young children could be heard in the mansion. According to the investigation results, it was a false report. An accident occurred with Baron Boden's group during the trial opening period, but the Baron was unharmed. The whereabouts of the women accompanying them were not listed in the report. An investigation into the accident has been planned. 6 days ago, 2 young ladies went missing. Resolved. 3 days before the girls disappeared, the body of Baron H., third son's daughter, was found in the Maze Mansion. The perpetrator is unknown. Heels cut, eyes gouged out, and some signs of being eaten by animals. According to the 2 missing young women, they said he was seeing a woman in her 30s during the initial investigation. There seems to be an unidentified empty space in the blueprint. No one other than the guests in the video sat to guard the security at the entrance. According to the results of the investigation, 2 groups of guests re-entered after watching, and no suspect was found. What's noteworthy are the things not on the list of props used in each room. A pair of men's shoes and an old-fashioned teacup were found in the room on the first floor. During the pilot operation and even after opening, the location of the video couldn't be checked. Strangely picturesque characters can be seen throughout the mansion. Hooter thought for a moment and then said to everyone, "As you can see from the data, I think these hieroglyphs seem to have been used sometimes after the opening. It seems like it was done without the designer or manager knowing." Sun, hearing this, grimaced, his whole body trembling. "Whoa, how terrifying is that? It's just a guess, right?" Anchoress was equally astonished. She gasped, "What?" "The characters are red instantly, as if they're stuck to your eyes. I've never encountered anything like this." The more Hooter spoke, the paler Sun's face became, his whole body trembling violently. The phrases were originally written to create a sense of fear, all using a common language. You need to know what I'm talking about so you can understand it. Before and after the opening of this mansion, isn't it strange that no one noticed the graffiti? "Anchoress, you don't look well. Are you okay?" Being suddenly called by name made Anchoress flinch a little. "Yes." She raised her head and replied, "I'm fine." Anchoress thought to herself, it's probably because of his mind-reading ability that he noticed right away. Mino, beside her, worriedly cared for her, and "Oh, your complexion looks terrible." Sun also turned to look at Anchoress. "Are you all right, my friend?" Hooter held something that could emit light in his hand. He asked for everyone's opinion. "Because there's still a lot of video locations, let's rest here for now, shall we?" Someone among the remaining 3 spoke up here. If you link the 2 video stones together, you can share the video with each other. You just need to watch it and translate when we ask." Hooter quickly replied, "I need to check some things first. Actually, I doubt whether it's really a letter." "Anchoress, have you really read it?" Anchoress immediately answered him, "Yes, the text is accurate." Hooter's eyes lit up in astonishment. Really? Anchoress's answer seemed to genuinely intrigue him. "How did you translate it?" Anchoress thought for a moment and replied, "Looking at the images, it says, 'I'm lost and being chased.'" Hooter quickly absorbed that. Oh. He beamed. "That's amazing." His smile stunned Anchoress. She recalled her unpleasant childhood past. Everyone always praised her stepsister. Lady Erisina is so wonderful. From etiquette to dancing, no matter what she learns, she can pick it up very quickly, so I really don't have to worry at all. On the other hand, young Master Anchoress, today he's not focused but is only reading strange books. Although she has a bit of a knack for languages, this untapped talent could be considered a special ability. Anchoress's father raised his hand to interrupt the teacher. "Stop. From the very beginning, I haven't expected anything from her." His words genuinely saddened her. Anchoress thought to herself. Everyone says this talent isn't anything special. I thought I wouldn't receive a single word of praise my entire life. But now, you have good friends. They truly care about you. Everyone said goodbye to Anchoress and left. Anchoress was very happy, a joy mixed with admiration and a touch of expectation. Receiving those admiring glances makes me feel a bit strange. Today is such a strange day. The small bed next to Uns suddenly moved, startling him. The two missing people have been found and are now being brought to the embassy by Anchoress. Lin exclaimed in surprise, "Oh my god, it can actually move." "Hey, cease." Dream seriously observed the small bed. He had just arrived and heard everyone in the embassy chatting enthusiastically. "It seems the mission was completed safely." "Huh?" Lin hesitantly asked them, "Here, this is the embassy." Uns quickly stepped forward to greet them. "Yes, that's right. Welcome, you too. That must have been difficult for you." Dream also entered. "Long time no see." Uns turned around. Seeing Uns, his eyes lit up. "Marquis Dream, long time no see. What brings a busy person like you here?" Dream smiled back at him. "I was on my way to meet the ambassador and got a little curious, so I stopped by." "Was that teleportation magic just now?" "Very skillful." Uns replied enthusiastically. "That's Anchoress's specialty. Thanks to that, the two young ladies were brought to safety." The two girls had just appeared when their families rushed in, their clamor filling the large embassy. The two little girls burst into tears as soon as they saw their relatives. Dream, being there, couldn't do anything else to comfort them. Uns seemed very proud that Anchoress had completed the assigned task so well. The person who brought the two young ladies here was that secretary. Anchoress isn't a mage, but he has magical items. Dream thought to himself, teleportation to this extent is certainly not ordinary. It's something that even a level 8 like me can't do. You have to be at least level 9 to do this. Can someone discarded by their family possess such a valuable item? He muttered that Anchoress seems different for what people say. He looked up and immediately saw Un's unusual expression. He immediately asked with concern, "Sir, are you all right?" Uns just stood there, continuing to mutter to himself. "Anyway, I'll have to send more people." "Who should I send?" Something urged Uns to nod vigorously. Could it be that feeling again? Dream observed Uns for a moment and immediately realized what he was thinking. Sir's ability is a sixth sense. He's always been proud of its accuracy, which is far different from what's usually called intuition. That ability has helped him escape danger countless times, so there's no doubt about it. Uns suddenly complained to Dream, saying sending 1 or 2 people was a bit overwhelming. What should I do now? Seeing that, Dream became a little worried. He shrugged and thought, "Don't make me go. I have to go to Wintham after meeting the ambassador, but if he needs help with something, it's fine." Finally, he compromised with Uns. "All right, then I'll go." Uns immediately felt his spirits lift, his vitality restored. Thank goodness, he came just in time. Dream didn't quite understand what he meant. He asked, "By the way, who are you referring to?" Just then, the sound of shoes clicking against the floor came from outside. Everyone present, not just Uns, was eagerly awaiting this person's arrival. It was said that those people returned safe and sound. "Oh no, not like that. I mean the person who will help." The door to the room was quickly opened by someone. Everyone gasped in surprise. A tall, slender young man with flowing pink hair appeared. Uns smiled at him. "Sorry, I know you just got back, but you have to go out for another trip. You don't mind, do you?" The man replied, "Mr. Uns, why are you saying that?" Uns told him, "The signal will arrive soon, so I'm resting until then." Could this be considered destiny? Dream stroked his chin, so he seemed to have made up his mind, which made Uns overjoyed. "Let me go with you. After all, my curiosity has been piqued. I can't just ignore it. Will this random act have any unexpected impact? It's worth looking forward to." Everyone had gone down to the first floor to investigate. A few minutes had already passed. Anchoress carefully observed and tried to use the object in her hand. She was a little disappointed with it. This recording stone still isn't working. I wonder what the hieroglyphs I saw earlier were. I know this is a place of entertainment for the rich and noble, but why are hieroglyphs being used by technicians? These vague questions keep giving me goosebumps. Anchoress turned to look out the window. It was pouring rain. These things have been on my mind ever since. It's been a while since I've been caught up in something like this. I have to stay focused until this job is finished. I don't want people to worry, and I don't want to be scolded again. At that moment, the earphone she was wearing in one ear suddenly beeped. Anchoress was startled, touched it, and focused on listening. There's a message. The person on the other end called her name. Anchoress, right? Could you check something for me? Anchoress immediately replied, "Yes, I'm waiting." Before she could finish her sentence, she heard bickering on the other end. "Hey, open it quickly." Another person argued back. "Wait a minute, why me?" something was quickly activated on the other end of the line. The person who had called her suddenly burst into anger and yelled, "Hold it steady. You're a grown man. Why are you shaking so much?" Anchoress secretly chuckled to herself. The screen is shaking violently. The bickering from the other end continued without end. "If you're scared, I'll hold it." The other person yelled back, "It's fine. Don't interfere with my work. Go somewhere else." Anchoress hesitantly spoke up, "But did you take a picture of the location I showed you in the document?" On the other end of the line were Hooter and Sunday. Surprisingly, Sun was so shocked by Hooter's scolding that he had to retreat from his territory. Hooter replied to Anchoress, "Not yet. What you showed me was the basement. Our daughter-in-law is wandering around on the first floor." Anchoress quickly responded, "Ah, I see. No matter how you look at it, it was drawn by the same person." Hooter only then noticed what she said. "You mean the markings are from the same person?" Anchoress replied, "Yes, that's what I was trying to tell you. Because it's quite vague, of course, you two wouldn't be able to recognize it, whether it's a picture or writing." Hooter was surprised by this. Why? Anchoress patiently explained to him, "That's because hieroglyphs were created by the lower class, people who had difficulty learning the language. The hieroglyphs will differ depending on the writer. It could be the crew or the merchants. Only the writer can understand it. Others won't be able to recognize it." Hooter grumbled to Anchoress in dissatisfaction. "Wouldn't it be better if they learned the common language instead of creating a new one? Why do unnecessary things?" Anchoress told him, "Because learning the alphabet takes more time than you think. They're always busy with their work, so they don't have much time to study. The truth is, writing must convey essential, simple communication during work. Those characters I showed you are the writing of prostitutes." At this point, Hooter couldn't help but acknowledge it. He nodded repeatedly, though Anchoress couldn't see this. Oh. Mino suddenly rushed in and exclaimed, "Wait a minute. If that's the case, isn't the writing here a bit strange? This is a place where the entrance fee for one person is very high. Even nobles can't get in, right?" Anchoress looked up. "Let me see. If you look at the markings, these characters are quite old." She hadn't finished her sentence when Sun wailed from the other end, "Are you done explaining yet? Can I go to lunch now?" Anchoress chuckled, "Yes, you've worked hard." Sunday. "The records, this place is a maze. I got lost again today, chasing something with wings." The space around the three of them became stagnant. Their faces immediately turned ashen. Sun trembled as he spoke. "Didn't he say there was another person in this mansion?" Anchoress told him, "Let me see." Anchoress continued translating, "This maze, they chase something." The characters in the mansion are repeatedly written with the same content. The lines are scribbled and hurried. I can feel the fear accompanied by the desire to seek help. Mino gently touched the wall. "No matter how you look at it, this doesn't seem like a simple line of random writing." Hooter covered his face. He softly asked her, "So in the end, who wrote it?" Mino turned around and answered him with a sigh. "I'm not sure, but there's someone quite suspicious." "Anchoress, is there a customer list there?" Anchoress was startled, and she quickly replied, "Yes, there's no one with an unusual identity." The recording stones installed earlier also confirm this. Even the backgrounds of the people who came here were recorded. Mino quickly responded, "If that's the case, then there's only one answer. Wasn't there only one unidentified guest who came to the pilot opening?" This question startled Anchoress. Mino analyzed the situation with the others, that if he was the Baron or something at the pilot opening, even if there was an accident, it wouldn't have been covered up. It's also strange that the woman who accompanied him wasn't mentioned. Was he doing something secretly? Baron Vodern secretly meeting a woman in Brazier, something like that. But Hooter agreed with her. Maybe it's possible. However, Anchoress thought differently. If there were any traces left, it would be from that time. What happened to the woman with him? Sun suddenly yelled, "They'll probably die for being eaten, right?" Immediately, the other two also started yelling. "Sukulin, stop shaking the screen." Over here, Anchoress is alone, but it doesn't seem okay either. She covered her mouth. "Ugh, I feel so nauseous." Hooter pondered. There aren't any notes left behind. Could it be because no one came to rescue him after the pilot opening? Mino observed the wall and replied, "I don't know either. I hope he's okay. Everyone's life is important." Anchoress, on the other end, truly took those words to heart, that everyone's life is important. "Lately, I've been quite anxious because I can't die. Now, I understand a little. Sadness, endurance, happiness, joy, these are things you only experience when you're alive. That's the value of this life. I hope the owners of those characters are also given the chance to enjoy everything peacefully." Anchoress seemed to have discovered something new. Hey, Mino. The three on the other side were startled by her call. Anchoress continued to ask, do you feel anything? Mino asked her back what? Anchoress told Mino, right now, where you're standing is the basement. Not only Mino, but even the two strong young men were startled. What? Mino yelled at Anchoress. No way. We didn't go up or down, did we? Anchoress replied, somehow, I can sense it. It's definitely the basement. You were just moved down there together. That's how I know. Hooter spoke up. According to the blueprints, the structure here is quite chaotic. Mino told everyone, look closely at these drawings on the wall. It really is the basement. We're screwed. Hooter, his face pale, asked her, are those the strange drawings on the door? Mino whirled around, ready to argue with him, but it's just decoration. Traces of some events, that's all. I remember talking about this with you. I said it was wrong. Hooter insisted I'm right. Mino retorted haughtily, wrong. Hooter wouldn't back down, right? Mino then asked Anchoress, but do you see it there? Anchoress' eyes widened. You mean the door with the drawings? Sun quickly scrambled to take a picture with his phone. Wait a minute, let me take a picture for you. It's exactly that, like flinched at his words. On the wall were clear drawings and handprints that looked terrifying. Anchoress heard Sun ask, but can I ask something? Are these also hieroglyphs? Anchoress was now breathing heavily because of this new discovery. However, she still tried to translate for them. Another passage, another world. Hildur was right. She recalled Hildur's previous words. Not on a mansion's blueprints. There exists a third dimension. Somewhere in the mansion, there must be records of the third dimension. Hildur said excitedly, see? I told you. Mino, standing next to him, couldn't help but hit him and yell, does that even matter in this situation? What now? Anchoress asked, her voice muffled by her hand. That IT doesn't mean anything good. Its shape is sharp, which is a warning sign. She paused, then continued, and the characters written below look like pessimistic terms. Hildur wondered, pessimistic terms? Is it something like divine language? Hearing this, Anchoress thought to herself, that's right, another form of divine language, opposed to the holy language. These are the characters of heretical worshippers, rotten people specializing in destroying the divine. If someone isn't interested in ancient languages or theology, it would be difficult to recognize such characters. Is it a coincidence that I've seen these characters twice today? After a moment's consideration, Anchoress spoke aloud. Yes, it's a divine language. I wonder why it appears here. Also, these characters are very different from the hieroglyphs used in the brothers writing on the wall. Those are the main characters used by the lower class. This handwriting is definitely someone else's, like it was written a long time ago. Mino touched the symbols on the wall. That I think so too, but this trace must be more than 10 years old. Seeing this, Hildur put a hand to his chin, thinking, wait, we have to sort everything out bit by bit. Then he voiced his speculation. First, we found the two missing young ladies on the first floor. Actually, it might not be the first floor, but the basement. Moreover, there's a third dimension in that basement. We need to check both of these things. Mino replied, of course, but if it's like what's written here, this is another passage. Could there be another way here? Sukalin disagreed. Mino, it's just a wall. Do you mean it's locked? Mino, irritated by the rebuttal, said, I don't know, I just feel uneasy, so I wanted to say something. Am I not allowed to speak? Sukalin responded, annoyed, why are you being so harsh, Mino? Meanwhile, Anchoress was lost in thought. The drawing on that door? I know for a fact this mansion was built just a year ago. How could there be traces of something from 10 years ago? Should I try to explain the meaning of the thing on the door? After a moment of contemplation, Hildur spoke that I agree with her. The atmosphere here is getting strange. Doesn't everyone feel it? Sukalin quickly replied, well, I'm no different. I've been shaking and feeling uneasy this whole time. Suddenly, Anchoress shouted, Horian. The room began to shake violently. Sukalin spoke urgently. Maybe it's like the other cases. Press somewhere and the door will open. Mino didn't think so. She replied, Aigu, you've been reading too many novels. Do romantic novels have scenes like this too? I thought they only had fighting and hugging scenes. Sukalin, confused, asked, have you been reading something, Mino? Mino replied helplessly, okay, just press somewhere. At this moment, Anchoress was terrified. She covered her mouth with her hand, thinking, what's happening? My head is suddenly so dizzy. A woman's screams suddenly echoed in her mind. Go back. No one is allowed near here. Anchoress's head spun more and more violently. Unable to bear it, she collapsed. Everyone around was still unaware of what was happening. Hilda spoke up. Did you really press everything? Mino quickly replied, just try it and see. Anchoress lay on the ground, exhausted, breathing heavily, thinking to herself, my strength suddenly disappeared. I still have things to do. At this moment, everyone around was still chatting as if nothing had happened. Sukulin said, don't underestimate me. Mino replied, simply saying, it feels like someone's watching. Uncomfortable. Try stabbing it. While everyone was talking, Anchoress was gradually losing consciousness and fainted. In the dark room, Anchoress was awakened by the sounds within. Looking at her surroundings, she thought to herself, why did I faint? Everyone's in the basement. Realizing no one was around her, she quickly pressed the earpiece in her ear and called out. Mino, suddenly, a terrifying scream came through the earpiece. This frightened Anchoress, and she shouted, Mino, what was that scream? Can you hear me? Is everyone all right? Answer me. She anxiously said, the connection's lost. Looking at the screen in front of her, she thought the screen's frozen. After a while, Anchoress couldn't reconnect. She gradually calmed down, looked around, and said, what's going on? A terrifying scene unfolded before her eyes. Anchoress sat down on the ground in horror. She looked at the corpse of a woman hanging on the screen and thought, everyone's disappeared. I'm the only one left in this mansion. After calming down, I saw the image from the other side. It's horrifying. A decaying corpse of a woman. Her hands are tied, so she couldn't escape. What's the reason for this horror? What about the scream I just heard? What happened to Mino, Sukulin, and Hilda too? Anchoress was terrified, trembling, unable to speak. When she tried to speak, she could only make a few sounds. She tried to calm down and thought, what happened while I was unconscious? Everyone, Anchoress crawled towards the screen, choking back sobs, and said, no, it can't be. While moving, she accidentally dislocated her leg. Almost delirious, she didn't notice. Anchoress trembled as she crawled forward, determined, I have to find everyone. Hurry, I have to get down to the basement quickly. A moment later, Anchoress calmed down and stood up, feeling her way along the wall. She thought this is the last place everyone was standing. Anchoress stopped, touching the symbols on the wall, and thought, that's right, the drawings on the door. These lines, a sharp mark. Suddenly, she realized with fear, this eye shape is different than before. It looks like it's smiling. Remembering everyone, she became determined. Did they open the door to the third dimension? Then I have to hurry and open this door. 2. Anchoress searched for information on the wall, thinking, I have to find a clue to get in. Seeing a line of information, she read aloud, the 9th Horion of the moon, year 436. The door will be opened at the end of the month. Reading this, she thought, the Horion of the moon, created 24 years after the destruction of the gods, is a method for calculating day and night, used primarily in temples and at the end of each month. Besides signifying the last day of the month, it's also an ancient ritual guarding the night, with the opening of the eye on the last night of the month. Furthermore, Mino's last words were, or how about trying to stab this eye? Thinking about this, she silently made up her mind. If that's the case, then her hand trembled as she hesitantly reached for the eye symbol on the wall. As Anchoress raised her hand to press the eye symbol, a warning voice suddenly echoed in her head. No one is allowed here. This made her pause to think. That warning voice keeps ringing in my head so clearly. But somewhere in this mansion, there could be man-eating monsters. There's no time to hesitate. I have to hurry. Anchoress used her trembling arm to press the eye symbol. A hidden door suddenly opened behind the wall, startling her. She thought to herself, the door actually opened. After a moment of calming herself, she continued to think. One side of the wall has opened wide. There are stairs leading down. The bottom of the staircase is very deep and dark, with almost no light, creating a feeling that something is wrong. Anchoress gulped nervously and carefully stepped down. After a few steps, the door behind her suddenly slammed shut with a loud bang. Anchoress jumped and turned to look, thinking, the door is closed. Now I can only go forward. After a while, Anchoress suddenly realized something. She furrowed her brow, guessing, this smell is formaldehyde. Ever since I stepped into this mansion, I've vaguely sensed this smell. Formaldehyde is used to embalm corpses. Could it be that the door? As her heart pounded uncontrollably with fear, a door suddenly appeared in front of her. Anchoress stopped in front of the door and calmly speculated. Not very surprising that the entrance is so dark. I wonder what's behind it. Looking back at the path I just took, when Anchoress turned around, she was terrified to see that the path was covered in scribbled characters filled with resentment, anticipation, grievance, and hatred. desperate pleas for help. Save me, save me, save me, save me. Free me from those evil demons. Even if you manage to open the door and escape, you can't escape this hell because they will chase you. So terrifying, so scary. Forgive me, no matter how much I pray, it won't help. This is hell. From now on, this rotting soul has nowhere to go. We pray for you. Hannah, God has abandoned us. Looking at these words, Anchoress paused, thinking, the Jin family, the lineage of Sky Island, even the characters of the ancient dragon descendants that were once known, now lost, the hieroglyphs of the poor in that place, along with ancient writing traces that can only be found in ancient books. Written so haphazardly, were they trying to invoke? It's their own screams. The doors suddenly burst open, and Anchoress cried out in fear, what is that? Looking at the scene behind the door, she speculated, no matter how I look at it, this is definitely not an ordinary park. This is hell. From now on, this rotting soul has nowhere to go. After a moment, Anchoress covered her nose with her hand in discomfort, thinking, the smell here is terrible. It's so toxic that it's hard to open my eyes. I have to find everyone quickly. Another door? Anchoress saw the door in front of her and made up her mind. Anyway, there are a few hidden spaces here. As if sensing something, Anchoress startled and turned around, seeing something flying quickly towards her. She fearfully raised her hands to cover her face and screamed, shield. Luckily, she wasn't injured, but the force of it knocked her to the ground. Terrified, she thought, what was that thing that just flew into me? In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. It was so fast I couldn't even see it, but Anchoress struggled to stand up, speculating, that wasn't human. I have to stay calm. I can't stop just because I'm scared. I wonder if everyone else is being attacked. 2. Suddenly, Anchoress felt a surge of killing intent. She told herself, my intuition is telling me not to turn around, but that it's like I'm being drawn in. My eyes keep looking over there. Then Anchoress was startled to discover that it was the same woman she had seen earlier on the projector screen. Anchoress approached and saw that what was at the woman's feet was that a recording device that IT recorded. I'm sure everyone was here. As she bent down to pick up the projector, she felt dizzy and thought, why'd my tears? Anchoress, in pain, with tears streaming down her face, gasped for breath and called out, Faye, Jiangdi, Jen, Julie, Helly, can anyone hear me? Why won't anyone answer? The surrounding environment made her feel increasingly worse that I'm so dizzy. Being here for so long is making my head hurt. I hate being alone. The oath seal isn't working at all. Anchoress staggered to her feet, looking at everything around her, thinking, this blood, it's trailed all the way to the door. After walking for a long time, Anchoress thought wearily, after getting tired of counting, I've passed quite a few rooms. One after another, these rooms seem to have been used for some kind of unknown experiments. The equipment makes me uncomfortable. There's a chilling atmosphere. In one of them, I discovered a diary written in a pessimistic language. I didn't know what to do, so I kept it, but it doesn't have any clues about my companions. Then she realized the only thing related to them is the bloodstains trailed on the ground when I got here. Were they injured, leaving those marks? That thing that attacked me, I have to be prepared for any surprise attacks. She used magic to draw a sword, as a precaution. I've kept the sword Shandy gave me as protection. Honestly, I don't have much faith in my own abilities, but if a monster appears, it's better than nothing. A moment later, a monster suddenly appeared in front of Anchoress. Trembling, she raised the sword in front of her, thinking, I thought this might happen. But I didn't think it would come so fast. Was it the same monster that attacked me before? I was so scared then, I couldn't see it clearly. Anchoress looked closely at the monster before her. Assessing IT has a horn on its head and large wings that cover its body. Sharp fangs protrude from its crimson jaws, but surprisingly, IT looks like a child. While she was thinking, the monster suddenly let out a loud laugh and charged. Anchoress recoiled in fear, yelling shield. After the monster crashed into the shield and suddenly stopped moving, Anchoress thought, it stopped. This is my chance. Then Anchoress extended her hand, manipulating the water, and commanded, attack, water magic. When the monster was surrounded by the water barrier, she quickly ran away, thinking, I have to hurry. This is my last shield. If I'm caught, I'm dead for sure. Seeing the monster escape the water barrier, Anchoress turned back and continued using magic. Wind magic attack. The monster was blown far away. Anchoress took this opportunity to fling open the door in front of her, quickly ran inside, and slammed it shut. Fearfully, she tried to catch her breath. She thought, it's over. No time to rest. I have to lock the door. At this moment, a voice suddenly called from behind, Anchoress. She startled and turned her head to see Sukulin's cheerful face. Did you have a hard time getting here? I was so worried. Anchoress was overjoyed, Sukulin. But remembering something important, she quickly said, wait, we have to find something to barricade the door. Although Sukulin didn't understand, he quickly replied, all right. After they finished, Anchoress breathed a sigh of relief and asked, where is everyone? Sukulin honestly replied, I don't know. Then he looked at the woman beside him and continued, after I found this woman, we were all separated. Anchoress looked at the extremely disheveled woman huddled in the corner and thought, this middle-aged woman claimed to have seen those young ladies. Her whole body is covered in wounds, and there are cuts on her heels, just like the young lady who died here. This means she's also a victim. After a moment of contemplation, Anchoress approached the woman and spoke, hey, can I heal you? Sukulin stood beside her, watching her heal, and anxiously stammered, but it seems, when you arrived, you looked very hurried. Did you see the thing out there? Anchoress calmly replied, yes. Seeing him becoming increasingly agitated, Anchoress worriedly thought, Sukulin. After a while, Sukulin suddenly said sorry. He anxiously recounted, that strange thing chased me. They said I had to protect this woman, and the two of them would lure it away. She and I ran and stopped here. When we separated, their situation wasn't good at all. Then he looked back at her, as if seeking some comfort, and asked, they're still safe, right? Anchoress struggled, thinking, I don't know what to say anymore. After a moment, she sighed and replied, they'll be fine. That's why we have to go find them right now. Sukulin quickly replied, yeah, Anchoress, I found this. He took out a pink pouch with symbols on the outside and handed it to her. Anchoress said in surprise, this is... Sukulin quickly replied, you're right. Look at the hieroglyphs on this pouch. This handwriting style is similar to the hieroglyphs written by the brothel prostitute found upstairs. Could the writer also be the owner of the pouch? Anchoress looked at the pouch thoughtfully. This is a sachet. I've seen prostitutes in brothels carry these quite often. Sukulin glared at her and continued. It seems like it happened during the experiments. The victim, the Baron, was gagged with this. Here, I'll keep it. It's such a disgrace to bring prostitutes here. A moment later, the two decided to leave. Sukulin, carrying the woman on his back, spoke up, this is where I split up with Mino and Hooter. Let's go. Anchoress quickly replied, okay. As they stepped through the doorway, Sukulin noticed the bloodstains on the floor and said worriedly, there's blood here. I should have gone after Mino, even though I'm exhausted. Seeing his concern, Anchoress frowned and asked, you're really worried, aren't you? Sukulin replied sadly, yeah. After walking a short distance, he continued, Hooter, he could carry me easily. But Mino, he's not as strong physically. That's why when Unit 2 has a mission, he always goes with me or Ileana. Opening the next door, Anchoress offered comfort. Don't be too upset. We'll find him soon. Suddenly, a large pool of blood appeared before them. Anchoress ran forward in alarm and told Sukulin, there's so much blood it's formed a pool. This much blood, someone must be seriously injured. Hurry, Sukulin. But he said worriedly, Anchoress, the smell of blood here is quite strong. Anchoress, ignoring him, opened the next door. The person inside startled and stammered. Sukulin, seeing them, the person inside cried out joyfully. Anchoress. She turned around in surprise and happily recognized them. Hooter. Mino. Anchoress exclaimed worriedly. Are you all right? Mino, what happened to your leg? Mino frowned and replied, I was injured while distracting that thing. Hooter's tracer sword hit me. It was like it was aiming for me. He took the hit for me. I quickly stopped the bleeding, but it doesn't look good. We need to treat him quickly. Looking at Hooter, Anchoress thought to herself in horror. When I saw those bloodstains, I knew something had happened, but this wound is too big. If I don't find a solution fast, it'll be too late. She anxiously bit her lip, thinking, what should I do? I've almost used up all my healing magic. Now I only have attack and teleportation magic left. Anchoress quickly turned and announced to everyone, I have a way to teleport to headquarters immediately. This ring of mine contains a teleportation spell. We can go back. Hearing this, Sukulin said joyfully, really? Mino, beside him, also sighed in relief and said, thank goodness. We owe you one, don't we? Now, with Hooter and me in this condition, we'll leave this woman to you two. Looking at the woman who was standing trembling behind them, Sukulin cheerfully agreed. All right, then we'll get ready quickly and be back later. Hearing this, Mino punched him in the face irritably and said, you bastard, whining the whole time about being scared of this and that. Stop pretending. Sukulin, with an expression of supreme confidence, replied, I was scared because I didn't know what it was. But now I know, so I'm fine. Better now. I saw the demon's form, so I'm I'm not afraid anymore. Mino retorted, it's not a demon. Sukulin said incredulously, oh, come on, it's a demon. Looking at the scene, Sukulin confidently patted his chest and said, so from now on, you can trust and rely on me, Mino. Mino replied dismissively, are you serious? Anchoress chuckled to herself, thinking, seeing them still so noisy in this situation, it makes me miss my family. I want to see them soon. After a moment of commotion, Anchoress called out, let's go back quickly. Suddenly, from behind, the woman grabbed her shirt urgently. Stammering, I can't. Anchoress calmly reassured her, you don't need to worry anymore. We'll take you somewhere safe. Once I request teleportation, immediately, without waiting for her to finish, the woman shook her head repeatedly and shouted, I can't. I have to find it. Anchoress asked curiously, what are you looking for? Ignoring her question, the woman frantically turned and ran off, as if crazed. Even if I'm alone, I have to find it. I must. Sukulin yelled after her, oh, come on. I don't know what it is, but I'll find it for you later. We'll come back here again. The woman, though trembling, said resolutely, no, I want to find it. Seeing her stubbornness, Sukulin clutched his head and yelled, this is driving me crazy. Looking at the situation, Anchoress frowned, thinking Hooter's condition isn't good. If we delay any longer, he'll get worse. I'd rather. After a moment of thought, Anchoress quickly made a decision. There's no other way. I'll stay here. The three of you go ahead. Mino exclaimed in disbelief. What? No way. Before she could finish, Anchoress firmly continued. We don't have time. Look at Hooter's condition. If we stay like this, he won't last. Sukulin reluctantly made his decision. Well then, I'll stay too. Mino, take him back to headquarters. Mino didn't argue further, simply replying quickly, all right, I'm counting on you two, Sukulin and Anchoress. Then she stepped through the magic to return. After Mino and Hooter left, Anchoress thought to herself, just like that, I teleported them back to headquarters while the two of us stayed here. Standing behind her, Sukulin worriedly said, I hope after they get back, they'll request reinforcements. Suddenly, he looked to the side and yelled in fright. Anchoress, startled, asked, what is it? He pointed at the skull in front of them and shouted, this. Anchoress simply replied, everything is like this. What's so surprising? I've already realized this place used to be a tomb. Sukulin, seeing her like this, said indignantly, you're too calm. Suddenly, Sukulin yelled again, Anchoress. Anchoress sighed in exasperation and turned back to ask, what is it now? Sukulin, sitting in front of a metal barrel, stammered here. Then he moved aside for Anchoress to see. Seeing what was inside and smelling the odor, she wrinkled her nose in disgust and covered it tightly. Sukulin continued, oblivious. She died not long ago, about 5 days ago. Less than a week, right? Anchoress remained silent, thinking the woman's decomposing body is in this metal barrel. Her appearance is horrifying, as if she'd been hung on the wall. After a moment, she asked, but why are we just smelling it now? Sukulin quickly replied, that's because I just opened the lid. I was just wandering around here and found a few barrels like this. Do we need to look through all of them? Anchoress calmly said, no need. Instead, after we find what this woman is looking for, we'll return to headquarters and call the investigation team. Sukulin quickly agreed, sounds good. Anchoress stood still, hand on her chin and thought, there's another body here still. Fresh. Could have been caused by him. Like the insect monster, something about this is making me anxious. First, let's resolve this quickly and return to headquarters. She wondered aloud, but what is this woman still searching for? Hearing the question, the woman's eyes widened and she yelled, the girl's head is the only part that hasn't been found. This statement made Anchoress and Sukulin freeze, both thinking in fear. Anchoress shuddered. That's. Before she could finish her sentence, a banging sound suddenly echoed from outside the door. She and Sukulin spun around, thinking this sound, the locked door, is shaking violently. Could it be? The banging grew more intense, the door about to give way. Sukulin quickly hoisted the woman onto his back and ran, urgently calling out, Anchoress. After reaching the next room, Anchoress thought wearily, just running like this isn't good. I have attack spells, don't I? Looking at the door, being pounded relentlessly, Anchoress thought fearfully, the offensive magic of water and wind spells is decent, but I need to be careful with fire spells. If I use them in here, Todcaster will be caught up in it, and even if I use a summoning spell, it's quite difficult to control. He should call me rather than me using it. The door suddenly burst open, revealing the monster from before. Anchoress realized with horror, but Zen can't hear me call right now. Standing beside her, Sukulin angrily shouted, damn it, we're cornered. Anchoress realized with a start that the monster was flying closer and closer. Sukulin yelled, "Careful!" Anchoress couldn't dodge in time and could only brace herself with her arms, squeezing her eyes shut and thinking, damn it, it's too fast. Suddenly, from above, a golden magic attack struck the monster, causing it to cry out in pain. The newcomer said cheerfully, "Seems like I arrived just in time." Huh? Anchoress turned in surprise, thinking that voice. Dream looked at her with a smile and continued, "We meet again, Anchoress. This is my repayment for you deciphering that document." Anchoress was astonished to recognize him. Marquis Dream. Seeing her silence, Dream continued, "It seems you're fighting an interesting foe. Being careless won't do. Hey, you over there, give it your all." He then continued to assault the monster with magic. Watching this, Anchoress thought in a daze, how can he deal with that monster so easily? Suddenly, the surrounding walls began to shake, and large and small chunks of the walls began to fall. Anchoress realized because of the impact just now the building has. At that moment, Sukulin coughed and said, Marquis. Ahem, excuse me, but shouldn't we discuss the alliance treaty between Baisajua and Chaba? Hearing this, Dream stopped using his magic and looked at him in confusion, asking, "Alliance treaty?" Seeing him like this, Sukulin angrily exclaimed, "Come on, I mean whether the Marquis likes it or not. You're the one who's caught Baisajua's attention, so please tone it down. Don't overuse your magic. Do you understand? Also, this building belongs to Baisajua. It'll be a problem if it's destroyed, especially for us." Dream replied awkwardly, I kind of forgot about that." He sighed in relief, almost caused trouble. Then he looked to the side and continued, "It's not safe here. I have to bring him out." Suddenly, someone stepped out from the shadows. Seeing the person clearly, Sukulin exclaimed excitedly, "Oh my, it's Amin!" With a tall figure, a sculpted face bearing a melancholic expression, and long red hair, he seemed to shine in the room. Unable to contain herself, Sukulin asked with a bright smile, "Why are you here?" Amin replied indifferently, "I'm here to help you with that guy." At this moment, Anchoress was still lost in thought. Is that the Amin I mentioned before? I think I've seen him somewhere. I know that face. Then she suddenly remembered and exclaimed, "In a magazine." Beside her, Sukulin said with a grin, "Oh, you know him too? He's a band member and a model. The face of Investigation Unit too." Hearing this, Anchoress thought to herself with a bit of embarrassment, "I just found out." Sukulin suddenly whispered in her ear, "Should I ask for an autograph?" Anchoress replied irritably, "Come on." Then she continued, "Back in the living room, I saw him on the cover of a magazine, that's how I know." Sukulin replied with a cheerful smile, "Good for you. He doesn't like male fans very much. Actually, there was a time he got into trouble for slapping a fan himself. And you know what else?" Amin couldn't listen anymore and held up a hand, interrupting, "Stop it, that's enough." At this moment, Anchoress turned to the monster and asked curiously, "But that monster, why is it so quiet?" Sukulin spoke up to explain, "Don't worry, that's because of, well..." Anchoress asked in surprise, "Because of you, Amin?" Amin calmly turned to Dream and asked, "What is this thing?" Dream, also unsure, simply replied, "Looks like a mutant." Sukulin sighed and explained, "Let me explain. No, it's nothing like that. Don't laugh. Listen carefully. Keep laughing, and I'll punch you to death. Now like me." And finally, Sukulin concluded, one of his abilities is that he automatically emits pheromones. Anchoress asked incredulously, "What are you saying?" "Pheromones. Pheromones are simply scents that attract mates." Then Sukulin sighed again and continued, "But sadly, he can't control it himself. That's why those fans kept chasing him to the embassy. He's a bit different, but whatever." Anchoress chuckled and replied, "I see." She thought to herself, "At first glance, he looks all right. Who would have guessed?" Sukulin continued enthusiastically, "I'd work my butt off just to see his handsome face. Even if it's just standing next to him, I wouldn't want to wake up." Amin covered his blushing face with his hand and said, "Stop explaining already." Then he extended his hand and continued, "Let's greet each other. You might have heard from the guy next to you. Just call me Amian. I'm a newbie just like you, so please guide me from now on." Anchoress politely shook his hand and replied, "Ah, yes, I'm Anchoress." Then she turned to Dream and continued, "Thank you for your help, but don't you have anything to do? Why are you here?" Dream smiled brightly and replied, "I came here to help you. I have to repay the favor. How could I just ignore it?" Hearing that, Anchoress thought to herself, is he talking about the time I helped him read the document? She recalled when Dream asked her, "My eyes aren't very good. Could you read these characters for me?" Suddenly, Dream added, "Moreover, I'm curious about a few things regarding you. At this moment, Anchoress spoke up. We've explained to the Marquis about the evidence we've investigated. Inside the mansion, there's a door leading to another space. The characters written under that door are pessimistic terms, and there are many rooms everywhere. I saw experiments on unidentified objects. Sukulin also spoke up. We also found the body of an unidentified girl. After thinking for a moment, Dream said, after hearing your report, it seems this place is closely related to the heretics. Although there's no specific evidence, if you look at the heretics' clues everywhere. Suddenly, the woman sitting on the ground stood up in a panic and said, I have to find it. I have to find it quickly. Seeing this, Sukulin quickly shouted after her, you can't wander around alone. Anchoress, watching this scene, calmly said, we're here to find what this woman is looking for. Dream cheerfully replied, is that so? Then Amian and I will scout around here. You two help her find it, all right? Anchoress quickly said, yes, I'll leave it to you then. I'll be going. Watching her leave, Dream couldn't help but think to himself, the more I look, the more I see that she's something different from other ordinary personnel, and her ability to decipher the heretics' characters. How could she know that the characters written on the door are pessimistic terms? Of the heretics? I have to keep a closer eye on her. Why is finding that thing more important than the heretics themselves? She could be very helpful. The grace of the gods, descendant of the ancient demon clan, alchemist. At this moment, Sukulin said cheerfully, good heavens, I can only breathe a sigh of relief after escaping danger. Standing next to him, Anchoress asked, isn't doing things like that common in Investigation Unit 2? Sukulin smiled brightly and explained, it used to be, but not to the point of risking our lives like this. Pausing for a moment, he added irritably, it's all because of that gold alchemist or whatever, and now we have to mobilize so many people to find something we don't even know what it is. Anchoress wondered to herself, puzzled. Gold alchemist? She recalled when Pluto had spoken very seriously, I've received information about the gold alchemist. Anchoress couldn't help but speculate. When he mentioned that, I wondered what it could be that made him go to such lengths to find it. The woman in front was still trembling, searching everywhere and muttering. Where is it? Seeing that, Anchoress spoke up. Hey, by the way, I'm a little concerned about what she's looking for. The woman paid no attention and just continued to mutter that she had to find it quickly. Anchoress, remembering something, spoke up. Did she say head? The image of the woman screaming, her head, was still vivid in her mind. Hearing this, Sukulin fearfully replied, what the heck? Is she trying to find a human head? Anchoress looked at him and calmly replied, who knows? Sukulin asked her, you don't have any guesses about what it is? Anchoress honestly answered, actually, when I came here, I found something. It looks like a diary. She then handed the diary to him. She continued, I haven't looked inside yet. I don't know if I should bring it back to headquarters or give it to the Marquis. Sukulin frowned, reading through it seriously, and said, the handwriting in here looks similar to the writing on the door. After reading for a while, with a splitting headache, he returned the book to her and exclaimed, I can't understand what the heck it's talking about. Can you read it? Anchoress took the book back and read, September year 434, second month of the first season, 13th day. The woman has delivered the baby to us. We conducted a small experiment at this location. Hearing her read this far, Sukulin couldn't help but grimace in fear and say, good heavens, this content is truly terrifying. Anchoress thought to herself in horror, baby experiment. Don't tell me. Remembering the image of the monster from earlier, she immediately felt dizzy. Sukulin suggested, I think it's better to give this to the Marquis. Just us alone, we can't understand it. I need to go there for a bit, and we'll be back soon. Anchoress worriedly asked, are you sure you'll be all right? Sukulin smiled brightly and replied, of course. With Sukulin here, nothing will happen. Come on, I'll keep an eye on her. Trust me. Anchoress sighed a little helplessly and replied, all right, I'll be back shortly. She thought to herself, look who's talking about trust. Seeing her hesitate like that, Sukulin quickly turned her around and continued, come on, what are you waiting for? Go on. Anchoress frowned and quickly said, all right, I'm going. Stop pushing. Sukulin waved at her and said loudly, I'll wait for you here. Anchoress, still uneasy, turned back to look. Sukulin was still smiling cheerfully at the woman. If you need any help, please tell me. Seeing this scene, Anchoress felt even more worried for some reason, thinking to herself, why do I feel so uneasy? I have to get back quickly. When she returned, Dream asked curiously, did you find something? Anchoress quickly handed the book to him and replied, not yet. I came to give you this. Dream took it with a puzzled look and replied, oh, this. Suddenly, the monster beside them, which had been lying still until now, let out a loud roar. Anchoress, startled, turned to look and thought to herself, even just for a moment, it's enraged. Although its body is controlled, its consciousness isn't. Year 434, written in the diary, is 15 years ago. So that child would also be 15 years old. Was the child sacrificed for the experiment, this monster? If that's true, then who was the woman who abandoned the child? While she was lost in her thoughts, Dream suddenly approached and called her name. "Hey, Anchoress." She startled and quickly replied, "Yes, yes." Dream continued seriously. "I want to know, can you read the contents of this diary?" Anchoress glanced at the monster beside her and replied indifferently, "Yes, the contents are somewhat suspicious." At that moment, she suddenly noticed the necklace around the monster's neck, that thing. Seeing her getting closer to the monster, Dream called out to her in confusion, "Anchoress." She didn't reply, but quickly snatched the necklace from the monster. Holding it up, she speculated, "This necklace, I feel like I've seen it somewhere before." That's right, it's identical to the middle-aged woman's necklace. If she's connected to this monster, then she wasn't the one screaming like those two women said. So, could it be from the victim of the gunshot? Don't tell me. Seeing her expression darken, Dream asked worriedly, "Hey, what's wrong? Why do you suddenly look so pale?" Anchoress didn't answer. The only thought in her mind now was that Sanchelin was in danger. Then Anchoress yelled, "I have to go back right now." Suddenly, Dream shouted, "Careful!" The monster behind her suddenly sprang up, its claws injuring her shoulder. Dream called out anxiously, "Anchoress!" Anchoress looked at her shoulder, thinking, "The wound on my shoulder." The monster, free from its restraints, wrapped its tail tightly around Anchoress and quickly flew up. Dream said in a panic, "I'll save you." The monster was now surrounded by runes. Amian and Dream realized with a start, are those heretical runes? Dream thought fearfully, the monster is transforming. Before him, the monster roared, its cries shaking the entire space. Its body twisted violently, the skin cracking to reveal bulging, ferocious muscles. In the blink of an eye, it had become much larger and more savage. Dream called out anxiously, "Anchoress!" Anchoress was now surrounded by rings of intensely uncomfortable sensations, making it difficult to move. She thought, "I can't get up. It hurts so much." Ugh! She felt pain, her face clearly showing her discomfort. The thorns on the tail felt like they were digging deep into her stomach. Huff, huff. The more she struggled, the more she felt her attacks being repelled. Boom, boom, boom. Dream was extremely worried. He stepped forward, casting a spell, "There's no other way." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The attacks struck the monster, creating loud noises. Bang, crack. A crack appeared on the shield. Dream shouted to Amian. Right now, Amian, though surprised, Amian quickly understood. He swiftly launched powerful attacks. Slash, screech. The thorns surrounding Anchoress gradually loosened their grip. Amian quickly caught her as she fell from the monster. He used his energy to ease Anchoress's pain. He encouraged her, "Hang in there." Gasp, gasp. She was drenched in sweat, looking at him with pained eyes, thinking to herself, "I'm running out of time." She gritted her teeth. "I have to hurry. I have to find Sanchelin." At that time, the contents of the diary page read, September 434, second month of the first season, 13th day. A maid in love with the master of this mansion came here to beg someone to save him. The master, like the other experimental subjects, remembers nothing and has committed suicide. Once there are no more test subjects, the experiment can't continue. That woman said she would give us the child on the condition that we saved her master. She gave us the child. So now we have the perfect test subject. Amian prompted her train of thought, asking, "Anchoress, are you feeling any better?" She gripped his arm, thinking, "Why did it take me this long to understand?" Gripping tighter, the child became a test subject, and that woman gave them her own baby. She said with all her strength, "Sanchelin is in danger." That middle-aged woman could be the culprit this time. If that woman really is the one mentioned in the diary, then she could be a heretic. Dream, hearing this, said, "If that's true, then we can't just ignore this." He cast a spell. "I will." He suddenly extended his hand, wind magic, total wind, and raised her hand to strike back at the shrieking monster. Bang! She said, "We're out of time." Quickly, she launched a simultaneous attack. Water magic, burst water. Loud noises erupted simultaneously. Bang, 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 bang. Amian clenched his fists, then pulled them away, leaving Dream behind. "Hey, Marquis, we'll leave the rest to you." He looked at the trembling monster in front of him and thought, "Looks like it's done for." There was the sound of a door opening. Click, clack. The door was flung open. The person who entered called out, Sanchelin. Drops of blood dripping continuously. She quickly ran over and knocked the mother down, sending the knife flying from her hand. Amian approached Sanchelin and asked, "Are you all right?" The woman muttered. Her eyes widened. Still alive? With that, she lunged forward in a rage like a crazed beast. "You should all be dead." Amian quickly subdued her, causing the knife to clatter to the floor, and approached Sanchelin and called out, "Sanchelin, wake up." His eyes filled with emotion as he choked out, "Anchoress, you came to save me? You finally call me a close friend?" Hearing this, she said loudly, "Now's not the time for this." She looked around Sanchelin. The wound looked strange. "It's turning black." She asked, "Amian, Sanchelin, he's..." Amian picked up the knife and surmised, "He's been poisoned. This knife is coated with poison. We need to administer an antidote immediately." She turned to the doctor and said, "So?" She gripped her arm and said, "I can try." She touched Sanchelin. Flash. Gasps. She asked, "Are you feeling better?" Sanchelin replied, like a fire that was put out just in time," and sighed and slumped down to "Oh, it's over, right?" Sanchelin said cheerfully, "Right, let's go back now." She said, "Wait, let's wait for the marquee first." She suddenly remembered Dream. Amian also looked at her and could only give a forced laugh. Ha. She thought, "Finally, we can go home. I once thought there would be nowhere in this world for me to return to." "Why are you so late? Come on, we've been waiting for a long time." She thought now, "I suddenly missed them so much and just wish she could go home quickly, where her family was." Thanks to the Marquis's help, they safely returned to headquarters. Properly it was dusk when the medical team finished a quick checkup on us and sat listlessly exhausted, thinking I should probably take a break for work for a bit. Listlessly. How am I supposed to explain myself looking like this? She thought about what she had said to them. I told them this wasn't dangerous, but now did I ask anyone even listening to me? "You're such a liar." Sanchelin walked over and patted her shoulder, asking, "Why are you sighing?" Startled, she saw him, Sanchelin, and asked, "Are you all right?" He cheerfully replied, "I'm fine. You two took care of me. They said I was lucky. My sister might need a week to recover." Nolith, a woman, was Sanchelin's older sister. He said, "Anyway, we have to hurry. The commander called for us. We still need to report to the big boss." She asked the big boss, Taza, the head of the Chiva embassy, Ambassador Pava, Zinga Arusto. Everyone looked at the person in front, curious. The head of the embassy? Everyone assessed that. He looks like a gentle bear. It's no coincidence he has that name, huh? He saw them observing him and chuckled. Ho. UNS said, "With the evidence we gathered in Bisajua, I requested permission to search the Labyrinth Mansion." He continued his report, but they said we were only allowed to investigate internally. The request to summon Baron Boton as a key witness was also denied. Pava, hearing this, responded, "Damn it." He said, dissatisfied, "Those Bisajua people just want to reap the rewards without doing any work, don't they?" There was a loud bang. En explosion. Someone outside yelled, "Bring out my guardian, Ambassador." Someone announced, "We have a guest." I was surprised, a guest? That voice, that could it be? Spalen. Bang. He entered with an angry expression and thought to herself, "I'm doomed." Sanchelin was confused. Why does this guy suddenly look like someone owes him money? And was now anxiously hiding behind him. He can't know. He shouted, "Where is she?" "Yes." He angrily roared, "I'm asking where she is. Anchoress. It's been over an hour since work ended. But why can't I contact her? You lured my guardian away, didn't you? Leave my little girl alone." Receiving no response, he yelled louder, "Do you know how much I cherish her? Where are you hiding her?" Sanchelin was frightened, and felt uneasy. "This isn't good, Jen." Hearing that voice, he quickly changed his demeanor. "I'm here. Oh, blood. Thanks to this, I'm sure I'll become a superstar here. Disheveled, people whispered and gossiped. "What's going on?" She looked at him and said, "I'm fine, I've been treated." He came closer, cupping her face and asking, "Which devil did this?" "Oh, definitely." She replied, about that, Jen, calm down." He reproached, "Why didn't you call me?" She said, explanation, "There was a barrier there that blocked all communication. I realized that a bit late, so..." He asked there. He angrily said, "It seems like you weren't at the embassy, but went somewhere else, huh?" She flinched. "Oh dear," he knows. He glanced at the surrounding people and said, "I thought you were just an office worker." He glanced again and nudged her. He said, "There seems to be some misunderstanding about that." Everyone was surprised. "Commander, what's going on?" A voice called out, "Was it you? You destroyed everything." You turned my building to ashes. What am I supposed to do? It was the owner of the Labyrinth Mansion. He pointed at Pava angrily and said, now I'm here to demand compensation. He was furious. He looked puzzled, the owner of the mansion, and thought, did the magic I used turn the mansion to ashes? Really? A hand rested on her shoulder and asked, how much? He repeated, hey, I'm asking you, how much do you want? The man was surprised. He asked, you're the master of the Lavum Corps, right? Because of your damn building, my protege got injured. Zen, holding her shoulder, said loudly, just thinking about how much it has suffered in that beggar's place makes me so mad. I want to blow the whole place up. How dare you make fun of it now? She said, Zen, I can't breathe. He angrily said, how are you going to take responsibility for my protege's injuries? There was an uproar. Quava sat still, thinking, Anchorus is the one protected by Lord Gorgon. He said loudly, I entrusted my precious Anchorus to the embassy, right? The embassy or that mansion. Should I just buy them both and wipe them out? He growled. She quickly hugged him, Zen, I'm really okay. The other man said fearfully, I don't know anything, but I was wrong. To appease Zen's anger, along with my contribution this time, the embassy gave me a week off. Quava said, Anchorus, I'll give you leave of absence. So rest well and come back. And turned to Zen and said, you should calm down before we go home. Zen, just like that, this storm will pass too. Back at home, Helly was angry. I knew it. Slap, just as I predicted. Everyone stared at her. I'm facing a second storm. Zhang Di said, the reason we recommended that place to you was because it was an easy office job and was relaxed. Faye agreed, like Zhang Di said, if there was even a small danger there, we definitely wouldn't have let you go. Zen was angry. Do you know you're wrong? The people at the embassy are the problem. Helly said, it's all because of those tarot cards. Julie was suddenly mentioned. Nanny? He said, hey, I warned you, but you were the one who disregarded it and wanted to go there. Then he poked her cheek. Julie said, here, you idiot. She grabbed his hand. Then it twisted his wrist. Hey, crack, crack, crack. Someone called, and Anchorus said, wait, there's something I want you all to hear. She smiled brightly. Today, I feel something. Happiness. I feel like I want to live. She removed her wig and continued. The time I've lived here, day after day, has created many things that make me feel so regretful. When I was being chased in that mansion, everyone's faces flashed through my mind. If it were before, I would have given up and died there. Anchorus's expression turned reminiscent. Soon as I thought of everyone, I immediately didn't want to give up. Maybe I understand a little about how important it is to live. Faye sighed. I don't know what to say to you now. Zhang Di covered her mouth. If you say so, I have nothing to complain about, but you need to be more careful in the future. Zen exclaimed, next time, you must call me. Everyone clamored, right? I'll cover for you. Just kidding. What? She nodded. She fell backwards. Faye quickly caught Anchorus. He said, she must be exhausted. It's best she rests. She said, thank you, Faye. Julie also smiled. Sweet dreams. That evening at the embassy, find that thing again. I negotiated with them. Dream wonder them. Thank you for watching today's video. Our story continues with many exciting developments ahead. So don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to support us and not miss the latest episodes. We wish you relaxing and enjoyable moments. See you in the next video. Thank you for watching.